Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm fully aware there's another person live at the moment, but I don't really give a rat's ass about that person right now. I'm continuing the saga of the Christians against dinosaurs. Eric Dubay. He done two videos supporting the theory of flat Earth, but also supporting the theory of dinosaurs not existing. So again, I'm going to throw him in with a lot with those people who claim that they're Christians against dinosaurs. So I'm going to throw him in with that mob and see where we go to from there. While we're waiting for that, I'll play a song for us. Extreme Dinosaurs by Chaos Cillian. How do you pronounce that? Anyway, this dude. All right, let's go. Like and subscribe to that dude's channel. Here we go. Okay, so let's get into this, shall we? Here we go. Let's get into this, shall we? Whoop. Again, this is by Eric Derby. I don't recommend subscribing to him because he's just an idiot. But let's go. Let's go with idiot.
In 2014, when I published my popular article and video, Dinosaurs Never Existed, it was very difficult to find any good information on the subject.
Oh.
But two sources I found and referenced were David Was.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He had two videos here, so we need to cover that was the second one. Okay. Let's go cover his first one. Why didn't you put him in order, you... whatever.
Thanks.
Don't know why Steve didn't put his videos in order. But anyway, let's have a crack at it.
Thanks to several of my computer-savvy supporters helping scour the Internet Archive, we have now found and can present Robin Kofid's article, The Dinosaurs Never Existed, from his deleted GVE News website. If anyone watching this has not already seen my more comprehensive and conclusive documentary, Evolution and Dinosaurs Debunked, please stop this video and watch that one first. Link in the description box.
Here we go.
In this video,
okay. So he's got another one
in human history.
All right. So he's got three of them. Okay. Let's go have a look. Fine. So we're going to go through each and every one of these fucking videos. Here we go.
The popular modern
There we
scientific materialist atheist worldview propagated by NASA, the mainstream media, and the public education system is that you are here because nothingness, for no reason, exploded and created everything. Before time, space, matter, consciousness, intelligence, and life, there was nothing. Then the nothingness exploded. And instead of destroying things like every other explosion ever, this explosion created things, created everything. The nothingness explosion somehow created space, time, and all matter in the universe in an instant and for no reason at all. Then all of the creationary explosive debris flying outward at over 670 million miles per hour for 14 billion years culminated to create you. Yes, first some of the more gaseous nothing came together, forming suns and stars. Then solid pieces of the nothing came together, forming planets and moons. Then the nothing turned hydrogen and oxygen came together, forming water on the nothing planet Earth, out of which single-celled living organisms magically appeared, got to work dividing and multiplying into multi-celled conscious organisms, which multiplied and divided and mutated into various forms of sea life, which adapted and evolved and crawled onto land, replacing gills with lungs, lost tails, grew opposable thumbs, and started grasping at straws like this ridiculous nihilistic notion of Big Bang evolution. This
Oh my god! First of all, let's just get the cat out of the bag first, dude. Eric, let's get this first up. Look, again, we cannot say for certainty whether God. I mean, like you said, God definitely had a hand in the creation of the universe. That I do agree with because I'm a Christian. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. The idea of nothingness comes from nothingness doesn't make any sense, any logical sense. I totally agree with you on that one. However, I also agree. Where did God come from? There's been no um, real actual evidence of where actually God come from. Now, there's the idea of being a multi-dimensional being, and I've shown that video a couple of times. I don't know if I've shown it on this channel or another one. I think I did actually show it on this one, maybe, about how the idea of the Trinity works. The idea of three in one. The idea of a hypercube and a tesseract and a hypercube. Now, the concept is that while nothingness produced nothingness, the concept thereof, dude, is the fact we don't know how God created the universe. The whole Big Bang theory could have been how God produced the universe. Because, again, with nothing came nothing, then came life. Now, I know it sounds really, really silly in the whole scheme of things, but there's not much different from saying God just breathed air into the universe, breathed his own breath into the universe and created everything. Again, where did the matter come from? I mean, where did God come from? Where the existence of matter, antimatter, and the whole idea of gaseous anomalies, the idea of everything. If nothing was there, and then it all came together, I said that doesn't make much sense. But neither does like saying all that other stuff as well. Like, where did God come from? That's the concept we're going with, dude. If nothing produced from nothing, which is what evolution teaches, that there was nothing, and all of a sudden there was a blinding light, like a nuclear explosion, boom, and then the universe came into existence, like you said. But that being said, we don't know where that substance of nothingness. No, start again. We don't know where that blinding light of substance came from. It could come from another universe, like a black hole. It could come from anything. The explosion of matter and antimatter, and the explosion of the sort of nuclear fusion explosion that created the the Big Bang. Actually, come to think of it, according to theory, the universe began with every specks of its energy jammed into a very tiny point, like a point of singularity. So you had all the conversion points in very one area. Then all of a sudden, that one point exploded with an imaginable force, creating matter and propelling it outwards, making billions of galaxies, gases, everything into the known universe. And even some people have actually nicknamed it the Titanic explosion or the Big Bang. Um, don't know what it's actually got to do with the Titanic, but the point is there was a point of singularity where all the stuff basically splurged into the universe, right? So again, scientists don't even know where all the specks of energy came from. All these photons and neurons and all these things came from that point of singularity, the explosion. They still don't know where it originated from. Therefore, thus, I hypothesize and theorize that the origin point of the Big Bang came from a deity or a god. Like I said, that's my hypothesis, that maybe God created the Big Bang. And I believe it says, yeah, I believe it's in Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was out without form, void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of the God moved upon the surface of the waters and said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So there you go. In Genesis 1, the concept of life and the producing of life came possibly from God instigating the Big Bang. It's like someone having, like saying, like someone who has got an explosive with a detonator on it, and so I'm pushing the button to detonate the bomb. The concept of that's how this could have worked, right? God could have been the one that instigated the Big Bang. Again, the Big Bang really has nothing to do with evolution, but evolutionists will use that as a source of their point of view. So I do agree with you on that, dude, about the whole Big Bang theory doesn't sort of prove or disprove God's existence as evolution, as atheists and non-Christians claim it does, and evolutionists claim it does. It actually doesn't disprove God because something had to originate from something.
Anti-God
Anyway,
materialist theory of evolution has been staunchly protected by the infallibility of science for over 150 years, but in actual fact, just as science has failed to find one true, valid proof that Earth is a ball spinning around the sun, scientists have failed to discover a single piece of evidence that the material world is a product of blind chance evolution. Furthermore, Big Bang evolution actually requires and presupposes
okay, because this dude is also a known. Okay, okay. Let me explain something to you, dude. Whoop. Let me explain something to you. The idea, I'm going to use a fictional thing, but because it's a circular ball, this is what I've got, dude, okay? And then we've got this flat disc-like thing, right? Now, look, the idea of how is it we got a flat surface versus a surrounding surface. Now, dude, the reason why, look, the concept of if the world was flat like it is, there's runoff points. And now, of course, you're going to say something like, oh, yeah, well, if the water, like I said, if the water runs off the face of the universe, like I said, we have water, that's what the ice caps are for. The North and South Pole isn't really a North and South Pole. It's actually just like a glacial ring around the actual globe that actually got frozen because of the fact of to keep the water in the actual flat. Yeah, okay. So you're saying they're like all the ice glaciers around the edge of the world is what's keeping the water in place. However, the concept of yes, but even then, water can leak. So water be leaking or dripping into space, dude. So how do flat earthers come to that conclusion? Because the world is flat, like they reckon it is, the water's just not going to just leak off the edges, and all the water will leak out into space. How do you figure that? You know, explain me that one. How come we still got water on this planet when it could all just be sucked into the vacuum of space, or even space itself could be fluid? Who knows? But in the concept of the reason why the world is round is because the fact is we do have 3D, right? The idea is the world is a round, like I said, every ball or planetoid, even if you look at asteroids and things like that, they're all circular in the way that they are. Just the way it looks. The fact that we can craft so a small ball like this proves that the world could, because we live in a 3D world where things can be, like I said, secular, goes to prove that the world isn't flat. You know how I prove that isn't flat? It's because you can actually have, you can actually have something like that. The fact is, the round thing can exist even when flat things are around. If both things can exist, a round thing plus a flat thing, you know, we have that thing of, like I said, the fact we live in a 3D world. The concept of being in 3D could hypothesize that because we live in a 3D world means that things can be, you know, circular. You know, the idea that things aren't all flat. If we lived in a flat world, everything we would be on would be flat. Yeah, we'd basically be like a 2D image, right? We'd be all flat. If everything would be flat, everything would be flat. You know, books would be flat like that, card shape. We'd have books that would be flat like that. Instead, we have books that do have are thick. You know, the fact is not all books are slim, or flat. The fact of there is a 3 dimensional thing to objects, right? If everything was flat, there would not be a 3D conception, right? There'd be no idea of 3 dimensional shaping, or the idea of a 3 dimensional thinking, or any kind of 3 dimensional aspects. The whole idea of 3D or 4D or any other kind of dimensional shaping of the universe would not be able to be understood if we lived on a 2D or, say, flat plane of existence. We'd basically be like a sheet of paper, dude. We'd be flat. But anyway.
Poses many other claims which have already been proven false in previous chapters, such as the plurality of worlds, Newton's theory of gravity, Einstein's theory of relativity.
No. None of that has been disproved, dude. What you talking about?
Stars being distant
Explain.
suns, and Earth being a planet, not a plane. Harun Yahya wrote, "Evolutionary theory claims that life started with a cell that formed by chance. According to this scenario, 4 billion years ago, various lifeless chemical compounds underwent a reaction in the primordial atmosphere on the Earth, in which the effects of thunderbolts and atmospheric pressure led to the formation of the first living cell. The first thing that must be said is that the claim that inanimate materials can come together to form life is an unscientific one that has not been verified by any experiment or observation. Life is only generated from life.
All right, you got a point there, but you still haven't proven all those other theories being true or not. I'm sorry, those other theories that you threw out there, Newton's law of physics, and everything else. You said those other things were debunked. You have not specified why that's debunked. All right. Well, you have a very good thing, like I said, the idea of being a creator, creating all this life. Nothing comes from nothing. The absence of the abstinence of having nothing will produce nothing. Something has to be a catalyst in order for everything to kick off. That I do 100% agree. However, what I disagree with is using that as a loophole to say, well, okay, everyone who believes in evolution is wrong because they say there's no catalyst in order for life to produce life. Okay, I get that. But how does that apply to Newton's law of physics, and how does that apply to everything else? You have not specified how evolutionary theory ties into everything else. Because, dude, when it comes to Galileo and all that stuff, evolution, the theory of evolution didn't come right back from the start, dude. Evolution was a new concept mainly concocted by Charles Darwin, the Freemasons, and other organizations at the time.
Each living cell is formed by the replication of another cell. No world has ever succeeded in forming a living cell by bringing inanimate materials together,
Fair
not
enough.
even in the most advanced laboratories.
Yeah,
The
that's
theory
fair.
of evolution faces no greater crisis than on the point of explaining the emergence of life. The reason is that organic molecules are so complex that their formation cannot possibly be explained as being coincidental, and it is
Right,
manifestly impossible for an organic cell to have been formed by chance.
right, I
How could
get
all
you.
the interconnected and compartmentalized components, the cell wall, the cell membrane, the mitochondria,
Yeah,
proteins,
it's so
DNA,
advanced, it doesn't
RNA,
seem like
ribosomes,
it couldn't be just be
lysosomes,
created. I get you.
cytoplasm, vacuoles, nucleus, and other cell parts magically come together and create conscious, intelligent life from unconscious, dead matter?
All
Just
right.
making these which
So let's jump ahead, shall we? Because yeah, I get you. Right. Oh, by the way, NASA has nothing to do with the theory of evolution. Okay. The only reason why you're having a crack at NASA is because they show footage of photos of the Earth being round when they went into space. Right. That's your only beef with NASA. But right now, we're talking about the theory of evolution and life on the planet. But to be honest, I'm not really interested in the evolutionary theory. I want to talk about dinosaurs. I could go through all this rhetoric about all this stuff about rhetoric and all this stuff about ancient people and man and da. But yeah. We know all that shit. We know all that. We know all that. We know all that. But let's get back to the dinosaur theory because that's what we're focusing on. As much as I find it really fascinating to talk about the fake humans on existence, that's not what we're here for. Okay, I could go in about. Like I said, I already agree with you on the subject of all these things, like all the DNA and all that stuff. There's no way on Earth that stuff could have happened. I totally get that, right? I totally get where you're coming from with all that. All that makes sense to me, right? But what doesn't make sense. Also, why the hell did you bring Disney into that? I don't know what the story. Well, whatever, dude. Anyway, let's get back to the dinosaur theory. Okay, we're here to know about dinosaurs, not all this creationists and creation and the fake Pilltown hoaxes, which is where this has started. Yes, but by the way, dude, just because some fossils are fake doesn't mean every fossil is fake. Okay, because fossils were caused by Noah's flood. Okay, but anyway, let's
but an
get into it.
extinct ape, which closely resembles many modern chimpanzees in height, arm and leg length, skull shape, teeth, mandibular structure, and many others
Right.
closer to proving their theory. Nor can they answer how apes
Yes, again, yes, I totally agree with that. There's no such thing as like a fish turning into a frog, then a frog into a reptile, and yeah, I totally agree. That whole evolution thing is pretty much Pokemon, okay? I do believe that the whole theory of evolution is just like a Pokemon thing. It's not really real. I do agree with you on that, dude. The theory of evolution from something starting off as a actually, you should have gone back further than that. You start off with you start more way out here with the theory of evolution when you start off as an amoeba, then no. First of all, you start off as a bacterial cell, then from a bacterial cell to an amoeba, then from amoeba to a bacteria, then into a fish, and then from a fish into frog or a salamander, and then from a frog or a salamander into a you know crocodile or reptile, and then from from a reptile to a or a also other animals as well. It doesn't make sense. I totally get you, dude.
Could develop bipedality, human arm and leg length ratios, erect spinal columns, and complex linguistic skills. If humans evolved from apes, why do apes still exist? Why don't any of these supposed transitional forms still exist now? And where are true examples in the fossil record?
Okay. First, I'll answer that one. I'm not really standing for evolutionists. I'll give you this one, dude. The concept of Eric. The reason why we have the concept of humans being apes, certain species of Homo sapien, but some humans being apes, was apparently the concept was there was a divergence in the evolutionary chain. So you basically had like your apes, your gorillas, your chimpanzees, your orangutans, your baboons, and all the monkeys and all those things descended down from one common ancestor, and then it branched off into all these different sects. And the ones that had unique qualities, such as, like I said, opposable thumbs, such as us, we were the ones that were allegedly were the ones that evolved into the species known as Homo sapien from the ape genealogical line, in theory. But then again, it does pose the question: how is it we have more remarkable intelligence to rise up amongst all the other species of animals, when it also claims in a lot of animal circles we have dogs, we have cats, we have birds, and even, like I said, dolphins and other animals that have shown remarkable intelligence, yet they did not evolve into humanoid species. So it makes you wonder. But that being said, that was the theory behind it. Was that the theory stems back to the concept of that we had a common ancestor. That the whole ancestral line is where evolutionists go down to that common denominator, saying we had a common ancestor, and through that they branch off into all different species from that one ancestral line. Boom. That's their concept, dude. In a nutshell. But anyway, let's continue. Not that I believe that either, but anyway.
The class Dinosauria was originally defined by Sir Richard Owen of the Royal Society and Superintendent of the British Museum Natural History Department in 1842.
Yeah, but why it was Sir Richard Owen who first coined the name dinosaur or Dinosauria to give the name of the species of the name, dude? The fact of the matter is, even though that was the actual generic concept of the name, he did not actually come up with dinosaur. Okay, like the name he came up with, but the bones and the fossils were already being discovered before he even came up with the name, dude. Go back and look through the archives through history about fossils. You'll find there were many other places that discovered fossils before Sir Richard Owen even coined the name dinosaur. Way before that, dude. It extends way back before that, dude. Way. Well, like we have stories in China and Japan and the Scottish Highlands about myths and legends about dragons, these giant scaly monsters. I mean, did everyone just go hop a ride and go to go see the giant Komodo dragons? Did they all go over there to that island? No. Did everyone go over to Australia to see, like I said, those giant monitor lizards? Come on, dude. Did everyone see giant crocodiles or snakes in Africa? Come on, dude. No. The concept is that dinosaurs were originally constructed from seeing living, breathing dinosaurs at one point in history, the myths and legends about dragons. Even the Bible itself, dude. People say, hang on, you Christians against dinosaurs, and Christians in general, you should not believe in dinosaurs because there's no dinosaurs mentioned in the Bible. Bullshit. Bullshit. You want to know how that's bullshit? Because there is mentions of dragons in the Bible. Now, the mention of dragons in the Bible extends from demons to Satan himself to even the concept of a living, breathing creature. There's been multiple times that they talk about dragons. Dragons. There's mention of dragons in the Bible multiple times. Some of them turn out to be living creatures. Sometimes it turns out to be demonic spirits and demons. Sometimes it turns out to be Satan himself. But in most cases, when they're referring to dragons, they are actual creatures. You've also got, again, Behemoth, a giant sauropod-like dinosaur in the Bible as well. Now, the idea of Leviathan being a dinosaur, like being a mosasaur or something like I said, a marine reptile, that's up for debate. But for Behemoth is straight up, you can't dispute that as a description of a sauropod dinosaur. You cannot dispute that the other stuff around that sort of thing is on that note, dude. You can't dispute that, Eric. There is, the fact is the Japanese, the Chinese found fossils. They found these things, right? Believing them to be dragons, they ground up the bones, and put them in elixirs and even some forms of home remedy medicines, or even, again, used in some, with the shamans and stuff like that, using ground up fossil bone in their drinks and elixirs and things like that. Fossils have been around for years, and like I said, they were considered dragon bones. And so again, you have that legend about fossils had been discovered far back as, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of centuries ago, from the Japanese, Chinese, Scottish, and anyone else who has these legends of dragons. That's where a lot of the legends of dragons come from, where they actually saw them themselves, or they based it on what they found on fossils. It wasn't that Charles Darwin here or Sir Richard Owen came up with dinosaurs. They didn't. They came up with a classification for an unknown discovered species that they did not understand.
Or, in other words, the existence of dinosaurs was first speculatively hypothesized by a knighted museum head coincidentally in the mid-19th century during the heyday of evolutionism, before a single dinosaur fossil had ever been found.
No, it wasn't! No, it wasn't, dude. Check the dates, you fuckwit. Sir Richard Owen came up with dinosaur way before the theory of evolution even came about. No. It's not in the same line. Let me go check that. In 1859 was when the theory of evolution came about, right? First known. Okay, first of all, 1859, the first actual known dinosaur was found by 1819. That was like years way before, at least a good couple years before 1859, dude. Yeah, well, no, sorry, not before. After, before that, way before evolution came around. 1819 came around way before 1859. But it was the theory of evolution came around about 1748 and 1859. But again, 1819 was when the first dinosaur was officially discovered by the British mob, and that was Megalosaurus by William Buckland. That was the very first dinosaur that was discovered on land. Okay? So he had nothing to do. William Buckland was the first person who discovered the first dinosaur animal, and he didn't even know what it was. He thought it was a giant walking crocodile-like thing on, like a mammal thing on land. And you'll see that thing, the Megalosaurus, as one of the display things at the Crystal Palace. One of the depictions of it. I think its nose got broken off actually recently, and they had to try and repair the damage that was done to the nose of it. Actually, come to think of it, the model. But that being said, no, and let's do a summary, shall we? Okay, right. Let's go through this, shall we? Oh yeah, I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. Let's go have a look, dude. You put me in a right irate mood. Okay. So we had 1859. That's what I meant. Boop. Had 1859 as when evolution was first coined. Yeah. Then later on, we found out that dinosaurs were only found in 1819, years before evolution first even existed. Then later on in 1841, so let's have a look here. Evolution came out in 1859. The name dinosaur came out in 1841, years before evolution came about in 1859. So again, dude, you're wrong. Give or take, either way, you, sir, are wrong. You are wrong, sir. Evolution and dinosaurs have nothing in common. Nothing in common. And I will state that again. Evolution and dinosaurs have nothing in common. Except that was the only process of what people has described how dinosaurs came to be. The theory of evolution is trying to describe how these monsters came about. Now, again, using Jurassic World evolution, no, not Jurassic World evolution, using Jurassic World as a contemporary for dinosaurs, even those aren't exactly accurate. Like this one here we're showing on screen, that is an Indominus Rex. That was a fully made up dinosaur for the actual movie, not an actual dinosaur that was actually allegedly supposed to be currently existing. So you've already blown your theory out of the water, sir, by using a fake dinosaur to start off with. But back to the point, as I'm stating, dude, you saying that in the peak height of the theory of evolution is when dinosaurs were created. The theory of dinosaurs was created. No. First of all, wait a minute. Let me do a bit more data digging, shall I? Okay, let's go back into it. So let's start right back at the beginning, shall we? With the French and like I said, the Japanese, Chinese, French, and Scottish, right? The concept of the word dragon, from etymology standpoint, the word dragon entered the English language in the near earlies of the 13th century from the old French word dragoon or dragon, which in turn comes from the Latin word Draco, the generative of Draconis, meaning huge serpent, dragon, or basically huge serpent, or basically huge serpent, or basically a giant reptile type thing. So that's where you get the word dragon from. As far as the 13th century, way before the 18th century came about. So dinosaurs have been around for the actual concept of dinosaurs goes way back to the 13th century. You know, the word dragon was the word they used to describe giant snake-like or giant reptiles. Dragons was the name used. Okay, so that had already been the deciphering thing way before dinosaur was even considered a thing. Okay, dude. So we've established that the name dinosaur was right back in the first name in the English language. Dinosaur first came up in the 13th century, the 1300s, right? Then from there we have the first known dinosaurs discovered in 1819. Then from there, we have Sir Richard Owen coming up with a name to coin these animals, Dinosauria, or terrible lizards, or yeah, or Sauros, they're basically terrible lizard in 1841. Then from there, we have Charles Darwin using dinosaurs and prehistoric animals in 1859 to describe evolution and the process of how these animals could come to be. Oh, I'm on fire. So it's you got the timeline all wrong, dude. Anyway, continue.
The Masonic media and mainstream press worldwide got to work hyping
Yes,
stories of
yes,
these
yes, yes. You
supposed...
are correct. Now, here's the thing: some people may not know that it's the Freemasons were the first guys who told, told the grandfather of Charles Darwin about this concept of evolution. Uh, the Freemasons, in their secret society, believed the process of cause and effect, and through an evolutionary process. The Freemasons had the theory of evolution before even Charles Darwin even had it, right? So it extended from that. Then from there, it branched to the grandfather of Charles Darwin, who believed strongly in Freemasonry, and he shared some of his ideas and thoughts with Charles Darwin, which led him to believe in the random processes of the theory of evolution. So yes, you are correct in one respect there, dude. The theory of evolution sort of came roundabout through the theories concocted by the Freemasons. That is true. But anyway,
long-lost animals, and then, lo and behold, 12 years later, in 1854, Ferdinand van der Veer Hayden, during his exploration of the upper Missouri River, found proof of Owen's theory. A few unidentified teeth he mailed to leading paleontologist Joseph Needham.
No, not exactly. First, Richard Owen was the one that first found the tooth first, and that also he found one of the teeth first. The iguanodon tooth. Actually, I think it was actually his wife who first found it. If I remember correction. Mary Ann Mantell. So yeah, Gideon Mantell, right? So yeah, Gideon Mantell, and sorry, so I rephrase that. Sorry, it wasn't Sir Richard Owen that found it. It was actually Mary Ann Mantell who discovered it, and Dr. Gideon Mantell also was part of that thing, and they sort of gave that stuff to Sir Richard Owen. That's where he helped to give the idea of the thing about dinosaur. Blah. But no, this other dude, nah. This dude,
who several years later declared them to be from an ancient, extinct Trachodon dinosaur, which, beyond ironically, means rough tooth. Firstly, it should be needless to say that it is impossible to reconstruct an entire hypothetical ancient animal based on a few teeth. But even more importantly, it is dubious that a myriad of ancient reptile, bird, and mammal...
This is I believe that this is supposed to be the Archaeopteryx, I believe, where it was supposed to be the first hybrid between the transitional fossil between birds and dinosaurs. The idea of it was sort of like a raptor type looking thing that first developed feathers and then became the thing known as Archaeopteryx. But we also have Archaeoraptor, which I think this is what this whole thing here is about, being Archaeoraptor, which actually didn't exist. It was actually it was cut in half between, well, I said, but half between the thing, and it came from China. Again, don't get any fossils from China, ladies and gentlemen, because it's most likely going to be fake. Just saying.
Transitional forms necessary for the blossoming theory of evolution would be
Yeah,
hypothesized and then conveniently discovered by teams of evolutionist archaeologists purposely out looking to find such fossils. And it is even more dubious that such fossils have supposedly existed for millions of years, but were never found by or known to any civilization in the history of humanity
Bullshit! 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 As I already stated from even the Bible, right, dude? The Bible said that they assumed but if you look up the book of Genesis, right? If you look up in Genesis, dude, there's a saying that Satan was a great dragon, right? That the idea was some demons, even some forms of deities were described as being dinosaur-like. Like I said, we had the concept of Satan coming across like a giant dragon in scripture, right? We have also Quetzalcoatl in the Aztecs, right? They have Quetzalcoatl. There's even a dinosaur named after Quetzalcoatl, Quetzalcoatlus. The concept is, dude, some of the ancient monster like beings could have been discovery of the fossils or the actual animal themselves in a modern dinosaur of today. But then again, there could be also the concept of, even if that's not true, the concept of, by the way, one thing about, because they're going to go into the Illuminati as well. Look, the Illuminati doesn't have anything to do with the Freemasons. They're separate organizations. The Illuminati and the Freemasons are two separate organizations, okay? They're not the same organization. Get it right. First of all, so just address that. So yes, Dorsch, to those of the Illuminati, to those guys, yes, I'm fully aware that the Freemasons, you guys don't have anything to do with the Freemasons. That's why I'm saying with the Freemason dudes, I'm fully aware, Freemason dudes, you guys have nothing to do with the Illuminati. They're two different distinct organization groups. One is trying and better the world for humanity's sake, and the other one here is just, like I said, start off with basically dealing with Mason work, and the idea of that everything in the universe has a cause and effect, and also the concept of the idea of being the world, everything has been created. The idea of everything has symmetry to it. Everything has symmetry to it. So everything has a reason for being, I believe. It's sort of like the Freemason concept as well. But anyway, back to the concept. Two different dudes. They have nothing to do with evolution. Except for the fact of except the Freemasons did have some theories around about evolution. I think we're going to get into that. Which passed on from the Freemasonry grandfather of Charles Darwin, passed on some of his beliefs to Charles about that, which gave him the theory of evolution. Some of the theories that the Freemasons had about beginning of life. They had a theory about the idea of ancestral lineage, I believe. But back to the point. I'm getting off track. Sorry, that image there is very distracting for me about those things. But back to that thing. What was talking about before that? What did you say?
Hayden, during his exploration of the upper Missouri River, found proof of Owen's theory. A few unidentified teeth he mailed to leading paleontologist Joseph Leidy, who several years later declared them to be from an ancient, extinct Trachodon dinosaur, which, beyond ironically, means rough tooth. Firstly, it should be needless to say that it is impossible to reconstruct an entire hypothetical ancient animal based on a few teeth.
Now, again, the reason why they did that, though, dude, was they looked at the teeth of animals. Even go back to, I said, Gideon Mantell, when he first discovered the tooth of the iguanodon, that basically means iguana tooth. So when they were doing reconstruction, like say for this being like say iguanodon, they based the skeletal structure and stuff based on iguanodon, on an iguana, right? They based the concept of an iguana, and then they found other things other than just teeth. They discovered other bits of backbone and stuff in the same area. All these other bone stuff they found in the similar area where they thought it was, but they had a basis. They based all that structure on from animals they already knew, such as, like I said, it looking like an iguana, iguana tooth, looking like an iguana. Even if you look at the first original drawing that Gideon Mantell made, it looked like an iguana. So that's the concept. Was Iguanodon was originally based to look like an iguana, based on the findings of the animal, the way it looked.
But even more
Yeah.
importantly, it is
Yes,
dubious
yes,
that a myriad of ancient reptile,
yes.
bird, and reptile mammal transitional forms necessary for the
Yes,
blossoming
again,
theory of
don't get any
evolution
fossils from China because it's most likely falsified.
would be
Oh,
hypothesized
yeah, an
and
interesting
then
thing about that. Archaeopteryx originally didn't have a head, and then they eventually put a head on it. Yeah. Because it was actually, as you can see here, it was sort of like curled up underneath itself, so they couldn't really see a head per se. But anyway, I come to Archaeopteryx. But anyway, I said basically Archaeoraptor and Archaeopteryx. I'm still my theory's a bit out on that, considering they all came around from China. Take note, ladies and gentlemen, all these feathered dinosaurs all come from China. Funny that.
conveniently discovered by teams of evolutionist archaeologists purposely out looking to find such
Yeah, but
fossils.
that does. Dude, not all archaeologists or paleontologists believe in evolution. Only a few select do because of what they had to be taught in universities in order to get their degree, in order so they could go out and do the hunting properly. So
And it is even more dubious that such fossils have supposedly existed for millions of years, but were never found by or known to any civilization in the history of
but that's where I
humanity.
disagree. Sorry, rephrase that. That's where I disagree, dude. You're saying that throughout all of history, no one else has actually found them. Like I said back in the Bible, when it comes to demons and stuff, and some other giants and stuff, not David and Goliath, but some concepts of other things, right? They found giant leg bones, and things like that, dude. They found bones pertaining to other things, and they thought they were gods, right? They thought they were gods and things, right? Quetzalcoatl being an example, Quetzalcoatlus, the concept of there was some things they believed that were gods or demons or angels or whatever back in the day, like spirits, the spirits of good or bad spirits, that's what they believed some of these animals were, dude. That the dragon, the myth about dragons, the myths about Quetzalcoatl, all these animal-like, reptilian-like animals. That's where dinosaurs were discovered by the ancient people through myths and legends. You ignore the myths and legends and say, nah, that's because they don't look exactly like the way they look in a museum. They say, nah, there's no way these guys could have seen that shit, right? Or found those fossils, yeah? But yet we see some of these sauropod looking things carved on rocks and shit. You know, dude, ancient people either did live alongside dinosaurs at one point, or they did find fossils and then put a story to it way back before in the first name Dinosauria, or even before these whole other dudes came along and found out about it, dude. Shit. Anyway.
Until evolutionism's Masonic renaissance
Oh
in the
my
mid
god.
19th century. David Wozni wrote, "Why are there no
Yeah, there
discoveries by
is.
Native Americans
What's
in all
called?
the years previous when they roamed
Yeah.
the American continents? There is no belief of dinosaurs in the Native American
Yeah,
religion
there
or
is.
tradition.
Yeah,
For
there
that
is.
matter, why
That's why, man. Let's see. We had lizard gods and spirits. Yep. Uh, here's one for you, dude. From the Native American people. This thing. Boom. Look that up, dude. Boom. And people. Manoniga Kachadiga. Apparently, that was supposed to be a lizard man, right? That was supposed to be a lizard man, right? But when you think about it, with lizard men, the concept of being like, being a giant bipedal lizard-like thing standing up on two legs, that or bipedal type things, that you think of like raptors, you know. Um, what else do we have? Um, that was a Native American lizard man god. Uh, we had a sacred blue lizard. Um, there was also, there we go, a giant horned lizard. And Native American cultures about a giant horned lizard or snake. So there's that as well in the Great Lakes. Um, let's see if there's anything. Yeah, basically, most of it comes from the legends about dragons. Again, well, they call them great serpents. But yeah, about the lakes were formed by serpents. So yeah, there is things about these giant serpentine like creatures in Great Lakes. One lived in Sol Duke Valley, I believe, and another one lived in Ilwaiha Valley. I don't know if I pronounced that right. So yeah, so there is indeed proof that because of the whole thing with gods, dude. Yes, yes, there is in a Native American folklore. Yes, there is. Go look it up, dude. There is stuff in the folklore when it refers to spirits being reptiles and things like that. Yes, indeed, there was things that they saw that resembled dinosaurs, right? Or some sort of giant reptile. Either way you want to look at it, dude. Yes, they did. Other ancient civilizations did have things, giant serpents and snakes and things like that resembled dinosaurs. Yeah, they did. So when you say, dude, no ancient civilization found fossils and stuff like that, bullshit.
Why were there no discoveries prior to the 19th century in any part of the world? According to the World Book Encyclopedia, before the 1800s, no one ever knew that dinosaurs existed. During the late
Bullshit!
1800s
They were
and
called dragons, you fucking moron! Hey, whilst in the 1800s, the word dinosaur was not coined until that time period. We already went over that, douche. 1859, Charles Darwin believed in evolution. Gideon Mantell, 1869, around about 1795 to 1869. Yeah, around 1869 when they discovered that thing. you know. So yeah, that Marianne Mantell and Gideon Mantell and those guys found the stuff later on. Sir Richard Owen in 1841 was the one who said dinosaur. But as far as the 13th century, with mentions of dragons, you fool! The name dinosaur didn't come around until the 1800s, but it was in the 1300 or 13th century was when the first European name dinosaur from the ancient Greek Dracon was there. The idea of a giant serpent called the dragon. I mean, oh my god, you're pissing me off, dude. The fact is, yes, ancient civilizations did discover them, but they called them other things like evil spirit, reptile spirit or something, or reptile god or something. They didn't in ancient cultures, or in the most more civilized ones, they called them dragons, dracons. I
Early 1900s, large deposits of dinosaur
sorry.
remains were discovered. Why has man suddenly made all these discoveries? No tribes, cultures, or countries in the world ever discovered a dinosaur bone before the mid
Bullshit!
1800s.
Bull fucking shit, mate. Bull fucking shit. We have even Alexander the Great, right? He wrote stories about coming across giant dragons when he was walking across the Himalayas and shit. Bullshit, dude. I mean, ah. Yeah, in support of the idea that humans encountered dinosaurs, Alexander the Great said to have encountered dragons in caves in India. Yeah, talked when we spoke to the locals. So, in 330 BC, mate. So, dude, there was talk about giant, dragon right back discovered in Alexander the Great's time, and that was 330 BC. Now, if you want to say Alexander the Great was bullshitting when he found when he said he saw those giant animals, okay, if you want to say he's bullshitting and he made that shit up, right, you could easily state that he found the bones because he said it was like he brought back some of the people brought back reports seeing a great hissing dragon living in a cave, and people were worshipping it there. They're giving it offerings and shit, right? So again, you could say that's a giant snake in there, or you could say it was a giant iguanodon type thing, like a Komodo dragon type thing, or you could also say that there was actually a giant thing like a dinosaur, like a tyrannosaur, or something like that in there. Let's actually have a look at some of the. Let me have a look at some of the things. We have him going up against a snake, right? We have him going up against a thing that looks like a snake or a like a Komodo dragon. But then you have other things that look very dinosaur-like. Like there was this one called Oteonothorannus or something in the Book of Creatures, where it talked about this thing that they encountered that looked like a half a ceratopsian. Like they did encounter creatures that resembled, dinosaurs, not just things like that. So yeah, true dude. Though there has been some things like some ancient rock things that were discovered where they had like ancient dinosaurs look like they were actually on rocks, and that turned out to be fake. But then, like I said, the encounter rates with, like I said, Alexander the Great. The point I'm making out here, dude, is what you're saying is absolute garbage. That ancient people, like from the 1300s or more back in the past, didn't discover dinosaur bones. Yes, they did. They did discover fossils. Yes, they did discover dinosaur bones. And if they didn't discover them, then they discovered the actual full-on real creature. My point, dude, either they actually saw the real creature, or they saw something similar to it, or more to the point, even found bones. There was even talk about, what was it? There was even talk about, they thought that the megalodon teeth were fossil shark teeth were once thought to be the remains of the tips of tongues of dragons. The idea of this sort of spaded uh, top half of dragon tongues. So again, why associate things, the fossils, right? Fossils to giant reptiles like dragons if they didn't know what the fossils were. They had some sort of concept that there was these giant, massive beasts like dinosaurs around right back then, to associate it to being a fossil, being like a tooth of like the fossilized tooth of a megalodon, right? They had this concept that all the fossils had some sort of correlation. They didn't know what it was back then. But again, dude, there is those things in folklore. You're a liar, dude. You're lying to yourself to say that there's no such thing as ancient dinosaurs in ancient history. Yes, there is. They normally fall under dragons or evil spirits or something like that. They don't really fall under an actual, like I said, like a proper animal. Most of them are described as being gods, or evil spirits. None of them were actually considered dinosaurs back in the day. Or even then, when they finally got their head together and started thinking it was like a giant reptile, they called them dragons. But anyway,
And then they were suddenly found all over the world in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Argentina, Belgium, Mongolia, Tanzania, West Germany, and many other places apparently had large deposits of dinosaur
yeah,
fossils never before seen. All these places were inhabited and well explored for
yeah,
thousands of years before this time. Why had no
they
one ever
did.
found a dinosaur fossil before? According to the book The Dinosaur Project, paleontological journalist Wayne Grady claims the period following this, from around 1870 to 1880, became a period in North America where some of the most underhanded shenanigans in the history of science
Bullshit.
were conducted. In what was known as the Great Dinosaur Rush,
Yeah.
or the Bone Wars, Edward Drinker Cope of the Academy of Natural Sciences and Othniel Marsh of the Peabody Museum of Natural History began a lifelong rivalry and passion for dinosaur hunting. They started out as friends, but became bitter enemies during a legendary feud involving double-crossing, slander, bribery, theft, spying, and destruction of bones by both parties. Marsh is said to have discovered over 500 different ancient species, including 80 dinosaurs, while Cope discovered 56. Out of the 136 dinosaur species supposedly discovered by the two men, however,
Dude, dude, dude. You do realize when they discovered, when Cope and Marsh discovered some of their dinosaur fossil findings, some of them were already classified by each individual. When Marsh discovered some dinosaurs, some of them were already discovered by Cope, right? Cope had already discovered some of them beforehand, but then because science and people in science like to name things, they actually put them in a different category. If you go talk to the guy who helped with Jurassic Park, um, the paleontologist dude for Jurassic Park, trying to think of his name. Just wait a minute. Jack Horner, the renowned dinosaur paleontologist Jack Horner. He stated, dude, that scientists like to name things. And back in the day, with Cope and Marsh, like I said, during the Bone War saga, like you said, they were blowing up fossils. They were blowing some of these fossil things, going, whoo! Yeah, because they were blowing bits up. And that's probably why there's bits missing from some of the fossil things as well, because they were using dynamite to blow these things out of the rocks. And even then, even some of them gave in putting stronger dynamite in, which caused the whole things to basically implode and get destroyed. So when it comes to finding things like I said, these sauropods and stuff like that, again with Cope and Marsh, like I said, we have this like some people call this thing a brontosaurus, when it turned out it was an apatosaurus. But now they even reckon now again the genus might be different again, but who knows? But the concept is, even with that, right? The concept of the apatosaurus and the brontosaurus being the same thing. There was even talk about Dracorex. Dracorex is actually, excuse me, Dracorex is another dinosaur which is supposed to be related to the Pachycephalosaurus, the one that rams its head into things. Pachycephalosaurus. Dracorex is supposed to be Pachycephalosaurus in a younger version. So the point is, scientists like to name things like I said, like Nanotyrannus. It's basically a juvenile tyrannosaur, right? Everything extends down from that sort of thing as well, dude. It's because science likes to name things. These guys in paleontology like to name things. They can find one single bone fragment, and it might be from like a sauropod, but they will slap it with a tyrannosaur because they think it's a new species of tyrannosaur, where it turns out it probably is another species of sauropod. But then when they figure out they fucked up, they go back and change it and put it back in the right scheme of things, dude. Just saying. Oh, my giddy aunt.
Only 32 are presently considered valid, as the rest have all proven to be falsifications and fabrications. None of them once claimed to find a complete skeleton either, so all their
yes
work
and
involved...
no, right? Dude, yes and no. Yes, and some dinosaur names were falsified. Like I said, like the Brontosaurus, Apatosaurus business. But that's only because those two dudes were calling the same thing, right? The actual animal did in fact exist, but they just called it the same. They called the same animal two different names. Thus, the actual one animal name had to be dropped and not exist in order for one other name of the other species to exist at that time. My God, you're annoying. You don't know how it works. That's all I'm saying.
reconstructions. In fact, to this day, no complete skeleton has ever been found, and so all dinosaurs are
No, wrong, sir, wrong. There has been several dinosaur discoveries that have been found. Full. Sorry, Matt. We have Sue, the T-Rex. When she was discovered, pretty much a lot of her stuff was found. How much of her was discovered? Over 90% of her body was recovered. Right, so 90% of the Sue the T-Rex was discovered, and then we had Horridus, the Triceratops. About 85% complete. Okay, it may not be a full complete skeleton, but it's a lot more complete than most, dude. So they have had fossils that are almost nearly fully complete. Almost. That's how they can make the judgments of how some of the animals looked based on that.
David Wozni wrote, "Discoveries and excavations seem not to be made by disinterested people such as farmers, ranchers, hikers, outdoor recreationists, building construction industry basement excavators, pipeline trench diggers, and mining industry personnel, but rather by people with a vested interest such as paleontologists,
Bullshit! More bullshit! Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a snack of chips while I was listening. Bullshit! Dude, that's bullshit. Yes, there has been, uh, surveyors and diggers and stuff like that. People who do surveying of lands and digging foundations for houses and stuff. Yeah, they have found fossils. What are you talking about, you idiot? Yeah, there has been reports of that. Farmers, yes, indeed, when they've been ploughing the fields, they have found discoveries of fossils. Yes, they have. What the fuck you on about, dude? Oh, you're going to say they're lying? Come off it! No, they don't. Yes, well, they don't exactly go find them. And they're like when they're doing digging for like ploughing the fields and stuff, they do find shards of bone things like fossils and stuff like that. They do find them. There was one farmer dude. Some people asked to come onto the farmer's land because he found something, and they decided, oh well, we'll go dig in that location. And they found, what was it, Stan, I believe. Stan the T-Rex on farmland, I think. I could be wrong, but I believe it was Stan. It was in South Dakota. Just wait a minute. Okay, it wasn't Stan, sorry. I think it was. Just wait a minute. Um, yeah, two farmers found the largest dinosaur on Earth. On Earth, some of them actually found them here in Australia, where I'm from. So yeah, there has been cases, dude. A farmer in the state of Central Tablelands made his quite discovery of fossils dating back 15 million years. So in a back paddock of a Geelong property in Australia here. So yeah, there has been reports, dude, of farmers finding fossils when they're out ploughing the fields and shit. Um, Again, but then just finding, like I said, sometimes finding fossils laying out on the ground that with a light sheet of dirt across it, that makes you wonder, how is it that fossils are up? Some of these things must be millions of years old, are up onto the closer layer up to us. There is a call into question for that. Maybe dinosaurs aren't as old as what they say they are, or like I said, there was some descendants of dinosaurs that were still existent too close to modern day. Who knows? But in any case, yes, farmers have found them, dude. And even there was even a big fight and debate on where who owns fossils. Is it the people who dig it up? Is it the museum? Or is it the person whose land they were found on? There's people that found on Indian lands, like out there in the what was it, the Badlands and stuff like that. In a where was it? Indian preserve. There was some fossils found out there, and they're saying that the fossils don't belong to the Indian people; they belong to science. Now, what is science? That's like some of the universities and museums. So again, the ownership of fossils comes into play. Who really owns the fossils? The people going out there digging for them, academia. Who, when fossils are found, who owns them? That's the concept. Or who should fossils belong to? That's another kettle of fish again. But anyway, but again, bullshit, dude, to say that's absolute garbage and bullshit, dude, to say that nobody outside of academia has found fossils. Way back, back the thing, like I said, we already had that, dude. That right back when we were talking about Alexander the Great, he found, like I said, some sort of giant beasts, right? Native Americans tell stories about how springs were created by giant serpents. You know, we have Marianne Mattel, and Dr. Gideon Mantell's wife, who discovered the first iguanodon tooth. She had no idea what the thing that she found was, right? She gave it to her husband, thinking it was just a strange, unusual rock. And then he looked into it, being if I remember correction, it was Dr. Gideon Mantell was a geologist, and he looked at it, said it looked like a tooth, I think, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong there too, but as far as I understood it, he was more into the rock fragments being considered to be teeth, right? Because they look like in the shape of a tooth. But then again, we also have to talk about dragons in the 13th century. You know, the French found them, and the French and the Scottish and the Japanese and the Chinese, all these other ancient nations did discover things considered giant snakes or giant serpents or giant dragons. You know, these giant reptiles, right? It was only in the 1800s did dinosaurs become popular. And then after dinosaurs become popular, they're now trying to figure out, well, how did these giant things come about, and how did we come about? And that's when, again, the Freemasons and the Charles Darwin came up with a theory about that, how life came on the Earth and how dinosaurs came on the Earth, right? They had a theory about it, but
scientists, university professors, and museum organization personnel who were intentionally looking for dinosaur bones or who have studied dinosaurs previously.
Yeah, but not all of them were, right? Like I said before, the farmers and stuff did discover them. You're lying when you say that the farmers and stuff didn't find them and only these people of academia went out and found them. Bullshit, mate. I'm sorry, that's bullshit. And then saying, okay, yes, I do agree. All the dinosaurs that we see, like I said, even this one on this video right here in a museum, these animatronic dinosaurs are recreations. They're artistic interpretations. We have never, if you really want to get down to it, we've never actually fully seen a full real dinosaur per se, because most of the fossils and stuff are out the back in giant cabinets. I've seen that in the museum, dude. I've been to a museum, went out the back of a museum and found trays upon trays. They have massive, dude, they have tray size, this kind of size trays littered with bone fragments. It's like I'll do an example here. This is the way a museum thing looks, right? If you go to a museum, dude, this is the way they kind of look. I just need to get a decent thing out. No. I'll just use these guys for an example. Okay, they're not real bones, but you know, like they have under like a little bit of paper underneath them and stuff like that. But most of them are put out on a tray like this. Like all the bones are put out on a giant tray, something like that, and they go whoop, slide in, down, and slide in under the thing like so, and slide in underneath in trays inside giant cabinets full and trays full of bones of dinosaurs and other things like that too. They have rocks and all sorts of other geological things as well on giant tray-like things, and they slide them in and out inside museums, right? And out in the back, these giant vaults and giant areas where there's massive trays they pull out, and they've got all this littered with rocks and things like that. So yes, whilst what we see in toy form or things, they are recreations of the parts. What happens is, right, dude, they find, say, a bone, right? So what they do is they take the bone, make a cast of it, then from the cast they make a mold, and from the cast and the mold of that of the original, they connect all the casts together to form a skeleton. There has been some rare cases of where, when they do reconstructions, they actually did use some actual real fossils inside, mixed in with some replica fossils. But in most cases, what you see sometimes is real fossils, and sometimes they are just full-on recreations. But again, depends on what museum you go to, depends on what things you go to. And again, because a lot of the things are recreations, the reason why isn't because they're made up bullshit, right? The reason why a lot of these things are recreations is so that the original ones don't get damaged. Okay? Because they put a real fossil out there on display, there's a possibility that someone might smash the glass, break them, and get the fossils out and go and try and resell them on the black market, knowing how valuable fossils really are. People might try and break into museums and try and steal them. So a lot of the ones you see on display are indeed fake for a reason, or replicas for a reason, right? And also the fact is, some fossils and some rocks are super sensitive to light. So if you brought some of these things out in light, they would go, they would just turn to dust because they're so super sensitive to light. So some of these things have to be in the dark. Some of these fossils and things have to be in the dark so that they won't disintegrate. So you can't have sometimes all fossils out on display, because some of them would just disintegrate because they're so old. My point.
Finds are often made during special dinosaur bone hunting trips and expeditions by these people to faraway regions already inhabited and explored. This seems
Yeah?
highly implausible. More
No,
believable
don't.
is the case of the discovery of the first original Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947, which were unintentionally discovered by a child and which were all published by 1955. In some cases,
Oh, by the way, while we're on that subject, again, goes to prove my point about ancient paper. Look up disintegration of ancient papers. Those scrolls and things are now fully basically being looked after, right? Because ancient paper degrades very, very quickly. And if you consider ancient paper, scrolls degrading very, very quickly as soon as it hits light or air or whatever, because remember, the scrolls are found in giant pots, yes? Taking those things out of the pots, the scientists had to be very, very careful. They had to basically get back to the university or museum before they actually even open those jars in controlled conditions before finding out what was even on them. Because if they brought it out right there and then, what was on it, there was a most likely chance that all the papers would have got destroyed. Anyway, continue.
cases of a discovery of dinosaur bones by a disinterested person, it was suggested to them by some professional in the field to look or dig in a certain area. Also very interesting to
Bullshit.
note are special
No.
areas set aside and designated as dinosaur parks,
Okay.
for which
Okay. Let me tell you something. Look, as far as knowing where to look, okay, I'm gonna pull up a again, I know it's not really going to prove my point, but it kind of does. Just need to find the right one. There we go. Wait a minute. I wish I actually had this better, but for the sake of thing, I can't really get any better than this. So bear with me. Dum 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 dum. Here we go. For example, right? Boom. This is taken from a video game. I know. And it's pretty small print, so I can't really see it. But maybe if you guys want to take a screenshot of that and then enlarge it. This person said from this game, right, where some of the fossils had been found. I'll just try and zoom in if I can. They said North America, the Hell Creek Formation, the Morrison Formation, the Yaxayan Formation, the Flaming Cliffs Formation, the Flaming Cliffs, the Hailing Formation, the Terranian Limestone Formation, Africa. We had however you pronounce that word, formation, the Barry Harrier Formation, that one. Then we jump back over to America. We have South America, the Cranels Formation, and even have Oceania over here in Australia. We have Australia Veneta and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, what I'm saying is they're all over the place, dude. Fossils are not indistinctively in one specific location, right? If they were all found in one specific location, wouldn't you think that would be more sus than just all over the world? Would you not consider that more sus than if dinosaurs were all found in just one specific location? Wouldn't that be more sus than being scattered all over the world? Just saying. Wouldn't you find that more sus that they're not if they were not scattered everywhere? My point. And again, no, scientists don't. Back to the thing of knowing where to look. Again, it's the formations of the rock, right? Knowing where to look starts with the formation of the rock. So, say for instance, they look in igneous or terrestrialis or something like that. They look in a specific type of rock formation, like whether it be clay based or whether it's more mud based or more or sand based. It depends on what in their whole scheme of things of the rock formation, what is more or less in that sand layer, in that dirt layer. Once they figure out what kind of sediment where that be, they go to that geological location where it was most likely they would find that kind of stuff, dude. So it's not like it's like that. There are some teams that go out and find fossils. That is true on fossil trips and stuff like that, fossil hunts and stuff. But again, there has been cases you're overlooking, and either you're calling those people liars, or you're calling those people idiots or liars or something. Where there has been kids and teenagers and families, farmers and stuff like that who actually have found fossils, right? They have found some have, right? some inexperienced diggers. Even get this, dude, a lot of the people who go out on archaeological trips are students. Not always the case that they're all scientific experts that go out on these digging trips. Dude, my point. Some of them don't even know what they're looking for until, like I said, one of the academias come along and says, oh yeah, there is something there, right? You have found something. But it's not like they say, oh, look, dig over there, or dig over here, or dig over there. You know, they don't say that. They just pick a spot that looks geologically correct. They just randomly pick a spot that they believe would be in that geological formation.
Amateur dinosaur hunters are required to first obtain a dinosaur hunting license. Whatever destination these establishment-funded archaeologists and paleontologists set, it seemed they found incredible numbers of fossils in tiny areas. In one of the largest dinosaur excavation sites, called the Ruth Mason Quarry, over 2,000 fossils were allegedly discovered. Casts and original skeletons assembled from these bones are 60 museums worldwide. Florentino Ameghino, head of paleontology at La Plata Museum, is amazingly responsible for 6,000 fossil species supposedly discovered throughout his career, all in Argentina. Dinosaur hunter Earl Douglas sent 350 tons of excavated dinosaur bones to the Carnegie Museum of Natural History throughout his career, all coming from the Dinosaur National Monument in Utah.
Yeah, but again, what's your point? Eric, dude, what is your point? Okay, the concept is, yes, that dude, that paleontologist did find all those bones in those certain location, yeah? So what's your beef? You know, because they're called a dinosaur, like they think it's a dinosaur location, was because there was other discoveries found at that location before that dude came along. My point. There was rumors or stories that there was something out there, and then they decided to go take it and have a look. And then they found out, oh, there is a lot of dinosaurs out there, and they keep digging for more. When they find one bone, they don't go say, oh, yeah, that's it. We're just going to end it right there. Let's go and make a discovery just based on one bone. Some cases that happens. In most cases now, the paleontologists now want to get into more in-depth, go back to the same site and keep digging to try and find more. Right? It's not the 1800s anymore, dude. Scientists have basically paleontology and scientists have updated their research to now say try and dig as much as you can and try and find as much as you can of the bones before coming back and saying, yeah, we found something.
During an expedition to Patagonia, Dr. Louis Chiappe and Dr. Lowell Dingus supposedly discovered thousands of dinosaur eggs at a site of only a few hundred square yards.
Yeah?
Many experts have mentioned how such finds of huge quantities of fossils in one area by just a few highly invested individuals goes against the laws of natural probability and lends credence to the likelihood of forgeries or concentrated planting efforts.
No. No. What it means is that there could be another your theory could have hold some water, Eric, but there's also another possibility you forgot to rule out. You forgot to rule out that some dinosaurs may have lived in the same area. So if the dinosaurs lived in the same area, of course you'll find more than one type of species in the same location. Or similar location, because when they were going for a dig, they found those specific dinosaurs in that location. But back to your point, but back to the point stated is that many dinosaurs have been discovered all over the world. Right now you're sort of backtracking, say, oh yes, but only certain dinosaurs were only found in certain locations. Isn't that suspicious? Only those particular group of dinosaurs in mass quantities were only found in those certain locations. Isn't that sus? But it's not really, though. If you think about it, we still have like a lot of mass extinctions today. A lot of animals today still go extinct, right? There is a lot of talk about. Oh, there goes a bit of a bone. There is talk about that lots of these animals, even today, do go extinct, right? There are certain species of reptiles or snakes that go extinct because of forestation, or they're being considered as pests and hunted down and killed. We talk about the Tasmanian tiger, for example, almost being hunted into extinction. A lot of the things that we consider prehistoric and things that are gone missing, some of them do exist in the same locations. But again, dude, while there is some ideas of the idea of fossils being planted, I'll give you that, because we did also have the Piltdown Man and the all those other things that were fake fossils. Even like I said, we had the Archaeoraptor and stuff like that. I'll give you that. But for every ones that were faked, there are some real ones, dude. You can't deny that when they found, like I said, about a lot of some of the T-Rex skeleton, they've got a lot more of a Tyrannosaur skeleton than what they had in the past. My point. Dude, there is a lot more in fossils than what you think, right? If they found a large quarry of dinosaurs, it could mean they all had a mass burial. Like, all of them could have been a herd that got killed off all in one hit, right? Again, supports more of the theory of Noah's flood.
David Wozni wrote, "Dinosaur bones sell for a lot of money at auctions. It is a profitable business. There is pressure for academics to publish papers."
Yeah. You know what? I should actually download some of this shit, because this is some. I'm going to download some of Eric's videos for posterity, just in case, because some people said his channel was taken at one point, and some of his videos were taken. So I'm going to copy some of these things just for my own curiosity and keep it in my back of my records. But for historical sake. But dude, no. Look, while there is a lot of fossils that get sold for a lot of money, there are some fossils that barely scrape the barrel. There are some that are being sold for $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 worth, mate. There are some that don't even cut it. So, whatever.
Museums are in the business of producing displays that are popular and appealing. Movie producers and the media need to produce material to sell to stay in business. The mainstream media loves to hype alleged dinosaur finds. Much is to be gained by converting a bland, non-dinosaur discovery of a bone of modern origin into an impressive dinosaur find, and letting artists' interpretations and imaginations take the spotlight rather than the basic, boring, real find. There are people who desire and crave prestige, fame, and attention. There is the bandwagon effect.
All right.
And
All right, Eric. Let's just say your Christians against dinosaurs theory might be correct. Okay, they find a bit of bone in the ground. Okay, we already sort of established they find bones in the ground. Okay, so if they don't look like this, some of the reconstructions, then what did they originally look like? They look like a giraffe. They look like a zebra, a gazelle. What were the actual bones from then, dude? Right, I've got against all these Christians against dinosaur peoples, including you, Eric, go buy a dinosaur fossil. Cut it open. See what's inside it. See if it's all clay and plaster cast or whatever. Some authentic, real dinosaur bone. Find out what's in it. And then if you turn out that it turns out it is like a rock or a bone, get a slither of that, get it DNA tested, and then get back to me and find out what kind of stuff is inside that bone or inside that rock or whatever. Go dig get it and dig it, and then get back to me. What is inside that shit? If it's not a brand new species of animal, like I say, a tyrannosaur. If it's not a tyrannosaur, and if it's not if it's not a sauropod, and it's not a giraffe or or like I said, like a Komodo dragon, or a crocodile, like a caiman, or if it's not not some sort of giant snake. Yeah, okay. So what is it then? Okay. These bones you have just said, dude. These are bones, right? But you said that nobody knows what these bones actually are or what they actually come from. Okay, then if your hypothesis is correct, sir, then go get some of those things. Go to those dig sites, get some of those fossils, either from the actual dig site itself, or get some on eBay, or go to a museum and actually ask them, is there any legit fossils you can buy that are El Cheapo, like say a megalodon, some of the megalodon teeth, or some of those shark teeth or whatever. Get them cut open. Find someone to cut it open, like Gem and Mineral Club. Get them cut open. I myself, dude, have gone to a Gem and Mineral Club and had the stupid bugs. I've had my geodes cut open. Get your fossil cut open, dude, and see. Yeah, and then if you're still not convinced that they're legit, then once you've done all that, dude, go to and get DNA tested. If it does look like there's some sort of rock in there, and it does look like it's like a bone or something, get it DNA tested to find out what it is. Then, is it a bird? Is it a reptile skeleton? What kind of bone did that belong to? Get it DNA tested, because there is fragments of DNA kind of stuff inside fossils still intact. So get it tested, dude. Then come and get back to me and find out, dude, just what it is it's supposed to be. Okay, if you're saying that dinosaurs don't exist, if you're saying these giant reptilian or bird-like things don't exist, then okay, smart ass, go get the DNA tested and then get back to me on what it is then. And if it comes back as an unknown, like if it's not bird, if it's not reptile, and if it's not like an animal, like a like an elephant or a giraffe, or a giant crocodile or caiman or whatever. If it doesn't come back as any of those kind of bits in the DNA strand, then get back to me, sir. Get back to me on that. If it falls under a species that's not identifiable through DNA, through being a bird, a crocodile, a dinosaur, whatever, and it turns out it is a giraffe, an elephant, or whatever other kind of bone that's just been aged even and then put in the ground, being falsified, like in the case of the Piltdown Man, where basically the jawbone of an ape was aged and grafted to a human skeleton. Okay, then, like I said, get DNA tested. Get your bones, get some fossils that are legit fossils, not just castings or whatever, that claim to be genuine fossils. Cut them open, get it tested, DNA tested, and then get back to me, sir, before even considering that all are fake. And even if they are real bones, like you're saying, they're just animal bones from an already known animal, like, say, a whale bone, or a giant snake, or giant whale, or giant Komodo dragon, or something like that, or some sort of giant giant reptile, then get DNA tested and get back to me, sir. Prove it to me. What you're saying is correct. Go ahead. I dare you. I triple, and double dare you, Eric.
Crowd behavior. And then there are people and entities pursuing political and religious agendas, highly rewarding financial and economic benefits to museums, educational and research organizations, university departments of paleontology.
But at the end of the day, dude, they don't really make a lot. They make only about $1 million a year, right? They only make $1 million a year. It's not really sustainable. That's been the problem with trying to get people interested in fossils and dinosaurs and stuff. It's not really fully sustainable. They get like $1,000 a year, right, for their discoveries. And even then, sometimes when the fossils go to market, a lot of the money goes to either the people's land which it was founded on, like I said, like the farmers, or the people whose land it was found on, or when people go that sort of own the land, like I said, like Native American stuff, it goes back into their to funding for the native people. So there's that. A lot of the money, don't come back, right? I mean, duh. Why do you think some auctions were even for fossils were actually even stopped, dude? Some auctions were even stopped because they were illegal. Some fossils were carted out from China or some location where they weren't supposed to come out from and brought into auction, and they weren't even supposed to be auctioned. They were supposed to be, be put into museums or something else. They weren't supposed to be put on auction. I believe it was Mr. Cage, a guy called I think it was either sorry, mate. Nicolas Cage, right? Nicolas Cage. He bought a Mongolian, supposed to be Mongolian Tyrannosaur. There was supposed to be $276,000 worth, but it was seized by the U.S. authorities because it turns out it wasn't supposed to be sold. Again, the dude bought another one. Yeah, he bought one from China, and then I feel sorry for Nicolas Cage. He's losing lots and lots of money. He bought one, like I said, from China. Turned out it was, he had to return it. Then he bought another one from Germany. And then it also, basically, like I said, the Tyrannosaur head that he discovered, which was about $276,000 worth. He had to return the skull of the Tyrannosaur. So, poor old dude. Even Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Some of these guys are big, like I said, Nicolas Cage and Leo DiCaprio. These famous people are buying fossils, and sometimes, like I said, they got into a lot of trouble for it. So, again, if it's so risky, oh wait a minute. If it's so risky for, sorry, I don't know if people heard me that last little bit. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. If it's so risky, dude, we had Nicolas Cage and Leonardo DiCaprio bidding on fossils and stuff, and like I said, they lost a lot of money because they had to give those fossils back. So, because of their legal problems. So, again, comes back down to if some fossils have been illegally imported and stuff, again, that's where problems come into it for even a lot of fossil hunters. The concept of getting these so-called fossils, and it turns out they're not supposed to even be on the market for them because the illegality on some fossils, right? With these kind of things. I feel sorry for Nicolas Cage and Leonardo DiCaprio, but like I said, they put oh wait a minute, even hello, there's another guy who put a bid on stuff too. Leonardo DiCaprio, Nicolas Cage, and of course, a good old Australian dude also tried to get it as well. But all these actors tried buying up fossils, right? Now, again, you could say, well, that opens up a market. If famous people want to get fossils, that just increases the value of the fossil, thus making it worth a lot more. Okay, I see your point, dude. But again, the concept is it's such a risky business because you get fined if your fossil has been illegally imported. So, again,
Discoverers and owners of dinosaur bones and the book, television, movie, and media industries may cause sufficient motivations for ridiculing of open questioning and for suppression of honest investigation. The fact that T-Rex bones have sold at auctions for upward of $12 million
Yeah.
shows how lucrative the field of dinosaur hunting can be.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be museum officials who serendipitously seem to make...
But again, you forget, dude, that a lot of the paleontologists and museum peoples only get like $1,000 a year for digging that stuff up and putting them on display and shit. Only $1,000, dude. Barely scrapes the iceberg. The millions of dollars stuff mainly goes to the seller, right? Or goes to the auction house, right? They make more money on the fossils than the actual people who discover them. My point. Anyway, continue.
Make the most prolific finds. The first dinosaur to ever be publicly displayed was the Hadrosaurus folci at Edward Drinker Cope's Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia. The bones were co-discovered by Joseph Leidy, Cope's esteemed professor, and the man responsible for the Trachodon Toothosaurus. The original Hadrosaurus reconstruction, which is still on display today, shows a huge plaster cast bipedal reptile standing upright using its tail as a third leg. What few people know, however, is that no skull was ever discovered and no original bones were put in the public exhibit. David
Back to that.
Shows how lucrative the field of dinosaur hunting can be. Responsible for the Trachodon Toothosaurus, the original Hadrosaurus reconstruction, which is still on display today, shows a huge plaster cast bipedal reptile standing upright using its tail as a third leg. What few people know.
But back to this, right? Okay, this is one of the hadrosaurs. And even you say that all these bones here weren't real bones. Well, again, did you actually ask the museum curator whether these bits of bone were actually the actual bones or not? And even if it wasn't, if it turns out they weren't, they were castings of the original bone, because the original bones, like I said, like the original femurs and stuff here, would be too damn fragile. Again, do you realize, dude, the lighting and stuff like that does cause damage to rocks. There's certain rocks and things you have to actually put them under certain special lights in order for them to even survive. There are some rocks and some gems and stuff. Some very special rocks will only survive in certain points of sun and in some form of lighting. Yeah, you put it under too much intensity from, like I said, lights like these, it might be like heat lamps and stuff like that, they will disintegrate. So the concept is that from the heat of the lamps being shown on it every day in, day out, that's the reason why some of them may have to be casts, dude, to be put on display, because the real bones are so valuable and so fragile, which you've already stated, dude, how valuable fossils are. The fact that they're being super valuable, like I said before, they have to be put on trays and stored out the back because of their rarity. My God! You've already proven my point, dude. As I said before, a lot of the bones and stuff are stored out the back of the museum for scientific study and research, right? The main reason for that is because they are so fragile, so rare, and so valuable. You even said some of the T-Rex teeth and stuff like that can go for thousands, if not millions of dollars on eBay or whatever. My point. You've already proven my point, dude. If some of these bones are worth a lot, well, again, what's stopping from a person reaching across this here railing and pulling a bit of that bone off and nicking off with it outside the museum? My point, dude. The reason why these things are so valuable and so rare, that's the reason why most on display are considered behind glass, or even the ones that aren't, like this one here possibly, is because, again, it's the whole thing of the whole concept of is that the bones themselves are rare and valuable. That's probably why most of the ones you see on display are fakes. Because if some of the ones that are real are probably, they are light sensitive and things. So it makes it harder for putting real ones on display. But
however, is that no skull was ever discovered and no original bones were put in the public exhibit. David Wozni wrote, A visual and a sculptural artist were promptly hired to invent a skull, and from the illustrations of another artist,
Yes, but then later on, dude, they may have even hypothesized that's the way what they thought it would look like, but then they eventually later on did actually find them, right? Anyway, continue.
who had depicted the iguanodon, the two artists drew the same face for the Hadrosaurus folci. The people involved could now technically defend the existence of this dinosaur if someone were to ask. The stunt worked out so well and fooled the public so thoroughly that they could later change the head of the creature without anyone noticing. To this day, Hadrosaurus folci is on display at the Academy of Natural Sciences in Philadelphia. The bones are said to be kept behind heavy closed doors,
Yep.
but a plaster copy is exhibited in their place. So we learn of an iguana skull being substituted for the skull of a dinosaur on display. What was the public told at the time? What are we not being told today?
Okay, okay. Okay, Eric. Okay, Eric. Here we go. Okay, if that is indeed the case, Eric, then what about the concept of have you ever considered asking those fossil dudes, behind the thing about that, why don't we go and have a look at that? You know? Why not go to the museum and take a look at go and ask them. I'm pretty sure they will let you, dude, because they let me go back behind there and have a look at that stuff that's on those trays. Go ask them. Go ask those guys. Okay, let me go out the back and have a look at these bones that you've got on these giant trays out the back. Let me go and have a look, and then use your phone, dude. Take photos. By the way, don't use flash because that can damage the bones as well. Go take a photo without the flash on of the bones, no flash, take a photo of it, then compare that to the bones on the actual skeleton out there in the foyer area, and then take a photo of that, and then see, if you go have a look over there, take a photo, done. Once you've done that, dude, come back and see if the bones inside on those racks are looking exactly the same as the fossils that are on display. If the bones match what look like if the molds match what looks like they're on the tray, goes to prove that the real bones, the real fossils on the tray match what is actually on display, and only then can you calculate and say, oh yeah, these bones are exactly what is being discovered. Yeah, do that.
What we are not being told is that this is the rule and not the exception.
Oh, yeah.
To this day, not a single complete skeleton of any dinosaur has ever been found. All the museum
That's bullshit. They have been, though. But the problem is, though, whilst some, like I said, some have been found intact, there has been cases where they had even the most intact dinosaur bone was also all fragmentary. They had to spend hours, not even days, years, and months putting some of these bones back together. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, dude. Some of these things, when they dig them out of the ground, like I said, they're all broken up. So they need to put it all together because it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. In some cases, some of these bones are like giant jigsaw puzzles. They're all broken up. So they have to spend years, months, no, not just years, months, and almost like a decade to try and at least put one of these femurs and thigh bones and all these things together just to get that one sculpt, to get that one perfect bone to even look like this, dude. That's the concept. But anyway, almost takes years for something to even like this to even come about. It's not like they just slap it all together and say, right, there it is, there we go.
Models, mannequins, cartoons, and movies of prehistoric monsters you have ever seen are all imaginative reconstructions based on incomplete skeletons arranged in a manner paleontologists believe to be most realistic.
Yeah, all right, you got a point. All right, yeah, I'll wear that one, okay? But not all the cases. There are some cases where they have been found more intact than others. I'll give you an example, dude. Uh, here's an example for you. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. This thing. It was actually a mummified hadrosaur. Like I said, there's a foot missing here, maybe an arm piece missing here, but the head was intact, the neck was intact, the backbone was intact, the ribs were intact, one leg was intact, the other leg was both legs here were intact, but it was missing its back half. It was missing the tail and missing the other structure behind it, right? But all these sections here, this arm was still intact. These two back legs were still intact. You can even see, like, I think if we zoom in here, we can even see sort of gastrolith rocks inside the gut of the actual hadrosaur as well. So again, yeah, if we have a look here on the head, the duckbillness of the head, everything is indeed fully intact. This is not a casting. This is the actual fossil that was actually found. This is not a cast. This was actually, as you can see, found in the rock. There's rock up there. There's rock here. There's rock under here. This is the most intact hadrosaur they ever discovered, right? Dude, sorry. This thing here is indeed what it is. There we go. Sorry. There we go. This thing here, Leonardo, the hadrosaur. Example, this thing was about, as you can see, about probably what they say was about where was it? How much was he intact by? Okay, whoops. Wikipedia. It said he was about, about almost complete. I even found some of the skin and impressions of the skin and stuff as well. So, yeah. Again, back to this dude. This goes to show right here. Well, so if we zoom in on this thing, you get to see some of the muscle tendons that were pulling on his back there, which is interesting. You get to see, like I said, with the head, like that whole thing is fully intact. Again, this you see, like I said, you see the gastrolith in the stomach to help digest. You see some sort of still staying about the poop, stuff like that. But like I said, as you can see here, here's an example here when they had to try and put some of the there's some of the scaling stuff there. Some of the scaly stuff there. There is some skin impressions on the actual bone as well. Some really, really detailed skin impressions of that as well. On the legs and the hands. So, yeah. And some of the muscle tissue, which is probably some of the rock as well. But, it is very well, that is the real fossil right there, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. That was about at least a good percent done, right? That was the closest sort of 100, almost 100% complete fossil. Anyway, let's get back into it, shall we, Mr. CAD man? Christians Against Dinosaurs, dude. Yeah, funny how some Christians believe the world is flat and don't believe in dinosaurs. It's hilariously funny. Let's get back into it, shall we? Boop.
Furthermore, the skeletons exhibited in museums are all admittedly intricate fabrications made of plaster, fiberglass, various epoxies,
Yeah.
and other animal bones, not original fossils.
Um,
When dinosaur bones are transported and prepared, they use strips of
other animal bones. Other animal bones. Okay. Dude. Eric, you claim that these dinosaur bones are made up of other animal bones. Okay, you son of a bitch. All right then, dude. Then go prove that. Go take a picture of a elephant or giraffe skeleton and then superimpose that on the skeleton of a one of these sauropods. Okay, get back to me, dude. Go get a. Like I said, ask for some if they've got some bone fragments of a hadrosaur or one of these sauropods. If they've got some sort of little small bone fragments that can be sold for like $50 or $60 or $70 or $100 in the gift shop, some of the bone fragments, go get that. Go to a gem and mineral club. Get that thing cut open. Get it DNA tested, and then come back and claim to me: is it a giraffe or a elephant bone, sir? Get it DNA tested before you even make the claim these so-called fossils were from other animal species. Go get it tested for mammoth. Go get it tested for elephant. Go get it tested for crocodile. Go get it tested for giraffe. Go get it tested, dude, for that DNA testing. Then get back to me. Dude. Let's continue, shall we?
burlap soaked in plaster to jacket over the fossils.
Yeah.
Then, after applying a tissue separator to keep the plaster from direct contact with the bone, the soaked burlap strips are laid on until it is totally encased in a protective, mummy-like coating ready for safe transport. In an article titled, "A Fossil's Trail from Excavation to Exhibit," one insider remarked that, "Through mold making and casting, we can totally fabricate limbs, ribs, vertebrae, etc. for the missing pieces of an articulated skeletal mount. Plaster, fiberglass, and epoxies are often and commonly used.
Okay. But, dude, you're forgetting one detail, right? Yes, the plaster. I think I said this before, even to Kristen. I think she got a lot of her ideas from watching your videos, dude. Okay, so I think Kristen and some of the Christians Against Dinosaurs got a lot of ideas from you, dude, from all this bullshit. So, or you're taught by some of these Christians Against Dinosaur group to say this shit. But anyway, the idea of the plaster jacket is so that the things can be transferred from the field to the museum because they're so fragile. But do they actually make castings from the plaster molds? It could be possible. I don't know. Have to double check that. But again, with the plaster jackets, they pull off the thing and put the bones in the museum. They still, dude, out the back of museums, still have the real fossils out on display at the back of the museum. A lot of the bones and stuff are on trays at the back of the museum. The real bones, or so-called real bones, or the real fossils are out there on the sheets, out there on the tables at the back of the museum, on trays. So go to the museum. Like I said, dude, see this replication here of a raptor per se. Take a photo of that. Go to the back of the museum. Ask if you can take a photo without flash on of the dinosaur bones. Pop it out. Take a snapshot of the damn thing. Click. Then go back home and put that stuff on your computer at home and do a lineup, can do a comparison to some of those bones in concordance with the skeleton and see if they even line up. If they don't even line up, then that may have given some proof to your point of view that some of these can be completely be faked, and that some of these bones aren't even, legit. If you want to go down that path, take a photo of the take a photo of the ones out the back plus the ones out on display, compare them, and then see how if they are truly even made from the same cast and mold. Because you're claiming the ones on display are truly fake. I won't grant you that, but even there has been cases where some that have been put on display do have some parts of fossils in them. There has been some cases of that as well. But again, you really need someone have someone who's more knowledgeable to find out what part is part fossil, what part is just a replication of the fossil. And again, no, I said it goes into a lot of big. Go do a big deep dive, man.
Reconstruction work on single bones, small to large cracks can be filled in with mache or plaster mixed with dextrin, a starch that imparts an adhesive quality and extra hardness to regular molding plaster.
So
we've also had success using epoxy putties. Large missing fragments can be sculpted directly in place with these same materials.
Right.
In other words, museum personnel work with plaster and other materials to transport and fabricate skeletons and missing or incomplete bones all the time. In fact,
yeah, all right, I'll grant you that. But no, not the yes, but dude, you still got to understand that to replicate or make a mold casting of said, like even this T-Rex skull right here, right? There had to be a real T-Rex skull in order for it to be made a mold cast from. They can't just make a mold from nothing, dude. That's my point. Some of these fossil things on display, like this Tyrannosaur skull, might be faked. But if you can see here, there's cracks right here, right? So, something like this one might be a real fossil, some real fossil parts grafted onto the plaster cast mold underneath. That could be another possibility as well. But even in some cases, dude, where the whole thing is just a plaster cast mold, the fact of the matter is you're still forgetting, dude, is that the original mold had to actually come from somewhere. Where is the original mold? Where is the original casting of the actual skull? Prove to me that there is an original casting mold that isn't from an actual bone, then get back to me, Eric. Just saying. Ay, ay, ay.
The huge dinosaur bone displays found in museums across the world are admittedly carefully prepared fakes. No independent researcher has ever examined a real dinosaur. They claim all the actual fossils are kept in high-security storage, but only a select few paleontologists are ever allowed to examine them.
You just blew yourself in the foot, dude. Just wait a second. Okay, I may have to cut this video short, ladies and gentlemen, before long. I might try and finish this video, and then I'll have to end the stream and then come back and do a part 2 and 3 on this guy about this whole idea of dinosaurs not existing. Now, back to this thing about the teeth and stuff, right? Quickly. Dude, you just said it. Dude, you just said it yourself. That you said, first of all, you said nobody has actually ever seen a real fossil, all right? Because most fossils are found in the back of the museums, which I've already stated that. Back in the museum, they have these big, massive trays where they put a whole arse load of fossils on the trays, and then they just slide them slickly into the area. They slide the trays in. Then when they need to get the fossils to have a look at for scientific study and research, they pull the tray out, pick which bones they want to discover, then put the tray back in, and away we go. But back to my point of they had to be cast from a real fossil bone. So you've already shot yourself full. You say, no one's seen a real fossil. No, they're all fakes. They're all plaster casts. They're all bullshit. They don't exist, right? Because they're all the ones you see are technically reproductions. I mean, if we want to get down to it, every single dinosaur, even if we go by Jurassic Park standards and stuff like that, we don't even know if a T-Rex really does look like this. We have no bloody clue. We don't even know if a T-Rex looks like this. We don't know. We don't really know if they actually look like that. We're only basing that hypothesis on discoveries that have been found based on whether they look like that or not, with feathers or whatever or not. Again, I seriously doubt that T-Rex had feathers, to be fair. But again, any discovery has always had the subject for ridicule. And again, dude, those are only this dinosaurs in a jar are only replicas and replicants of what dinosaurs are supposed to look like. When you've actually got bone fragments of bone rock fragments, like what you see here, that does call things into question. Yes. Therefore, if some of these rock formations do look like bones and technically could possibly be bones, the concept is, dude, they were the things that they cast molds of in order to create the actual skeleton. Like say for instance, this part of the T-Rex was laid out on a tray at the back of the museum, right? Then from that they make a masking of the plaster cast mold, which they already did out on the field, like you were saying. They take the plaster cast mold, lift that off, take that and put the plaster on, and then from there, boom, 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 la da da da. They make a plaster cast mold of the original dinosaur, right? So again, a lot of the stuff that is put on display indeed is a replica of what they really do have at the back of their thing. So therefore, dude, that shoots down your whole entire theory that the whole thing's a fake and bogus from the word go, because they do have bones out the back on trays. Out on trays, they do have bones out on the trays at the back of the museum. They've got these massive filing cabinets of trays. Massive filing cabinets of trays at the back of the museum. All they have to do is just pull the tray out, pick this bone, pick this maxilla, this tooth, this claw, or whatever, pick up whatever's on the tray. And because they're all individually numbered, like this is number 136 of this bone, number 137 of this one, they pick and choose whatever's out on the tray, take that out and put that on a table to examine it. And even in some cases, they wear plastic gloves or gloves and things to examine them, because the bones themselves are so absolutely fragile. Even myself, dude, here not on this channel, I think, not on Snickers, but on Generation Productions 1, and I've even had fossils that look really, really awesome. Like I had a fossil crocodile skull, and I put gloves on to handle some of those fossils. And I think I do have some plastic gloves around here somewhere still. I put plastic gloves on when I'm dealing with fossils, because of the fragility of some of the fossils could be really, really fragile. Even recently, back to that crocodile skull that I had, that one of the teeth actually broke off, and so I had probably have to glue that back in with some some of the super glue. I'm going to have to glue that back in later. But again, that just goes to show the fragmentary capabilities of a fossil. Pieces will, like I said, that teeth right there could possibly break off on a real fossil. Things like that are fragile shit, mate. It's not like they've just been molded and plaster cast and there they are, mate. Some of these actual fossils are legitly super fragile. That's the reason why they have them out in the back. And again, like I stated, they did cast them from a bone. So you're saying, okay, let's go by this, like I said, back to what we said. Right, the dinosaur that looks like this, okay, fine. You're onto something. Maybe putting all the bones together like this might be falsified. All right, I'll give you that. We don't know what the actual real dinosaur actually looks like. But the fact of the matter is, even with a tyrannosaur, there's enough bone fragments to slap them all together to hypothesize, to come to a theory that this is what it might have looked like based on what the discoveries that they have discovered. Yes? And the fact is they have multiple of these bone fragments and deposits out the back of the museum. on the trays in giant filing cabinets. Massive, ginormous filing cabinets. There's even some of the stuff that's super rare. They put them in a giant vault at the back of the museum, right? With all the other rarity things. Like there's been, like over in one of the Australian museums that we have here in Australia. There's a big, massive vault at the back of the museum where they have all these giant filing cabinets with a lot of stuff, even fragments and things from like spears and arrowheads and stuff like that from people of the Aboriginal cultures, dude. There's lots of rare and valuable painting, artwork, and all sorts of stuff stored right in the back of the museum that's been locked away in a vault at the back of the museum because the things are so super rare, including dinosaur bones. I've been in a museum, mate. I've checked it out. I had one of my friends who used to work in a museum. My point, these things are super. And I went to, I think it was a museum in Canberra, and I went to have a look at some of these things in Canberra, at the Fossil Museum in Canberra. So yeah, a lot of these things, dude, are legitly out there on the back in the museum. You've even just said it yourself, dude. Some of these bone fragments are legitly indeed at the back of the fossil things. And here's the thing, right? There are gem and mineral clubs, dude. I'm planning to go to a gem and mineral show sometime later this week, dude. I think it's on this coming. Let's see, what day is it today? Wednesday. On this day coming Friday, I'm going to do a thing on Generation Productions where I actually go to a gem and mineral club, find some fossils, and then put them up for everyone to show on display here. Not here because it's Snickers. But on Generation Productions, I'm going to be showing off a lot of my fossils that I found at a gem and mineral club. Some might be replicas and some might be fully genuine, and I'll tell people about the difference and all that stuff too and explain it to people if that does come about. But the point being is, dude, whether it is a plaster cast replica of a fossil like this Tyrannosaurus skull, right? Where is the, like this one here? This thing came from a printer or something like that, right? This one had like a mold casting, right? Where is the mold casting for the original fossils? You said the original fossil caster molds and stuff are at the back of the museum. Okay, go find it, dude. Go, dude. Go have a look, right? Find the original mold that the plaster cast thing was made from. Go find it, dude, at the back of the museum. Or if there was real bones they made a plaster cast of, then go find that. Go have a look at the bones and compare them. You said a lot of these bones and stuff, dude, come from known animals we know today. Okay, go find me a crocodile with that kind of teeth. Go right ahead. Go find me a lion. Go find me a tiger that has a teeth like a tyrannosaur. Go do it, dude. I double, triple, and quadruple dare you, dude, to find me a lion, tiger, or any other predatory animal, even a bird with a beak or anything like the shape of a tyrannosaur tooth. Show it to me, dude. Show it to me. I dare you, Eric. I challenge thee. Spoof! I smack you and challenge thee. I smite you and challenge thee, Eric. You say all these fossils are based on modern day animals and they just slap them together to make an ancient animal out of it, then go find it, dude. Prove it.
So the ability to ascertain their authenticity is kept from the general public. Robin Kofod wrote, "Most people believe that dinosaur skeletons displayed in museums consist of real dinosaur bones. This is not the case. The real bones are incarcerated in thick vaults to which only a select few highly placed researchers hold a key, which means that no independent researcher has ever handled a Tyrannosaurus rex bone. When people
dude, there are documentaries and stuff where you actually get to see some of the real dinosaur bones out on those trays. There has been photos and things that you have seen. People have seen it. Go and have a look for yourself. No, they are open to the public. You just have to go and ask the museum yourself if you can go and see them. The real bones at the back of the museum. Like you said, they are back in the vaults at the back of the museum. Yes, that is true. But go and ask the museum person the curator of the museum, the person who's there, go ask him if you can go and have a look at the real bones. Go and ask. They'll say, yeah, sure. They'll let you go and have a look. You may not be able to touch them without gloves or anything, but that being said, you are allowed to go and have a look if you ask. It's not just a select few of people who can just go and study and research these things, right? You people can go and have a look, but you may not be able to touch it for civilians. That might be true. However, that being said, you can go and have a look at them. Like I said, take photos without the flash on. You can do that. Go ask them. I dare you.
Affiliated with the paleontological establishment attempt to gain access in order to study these dinosaur bones, they are met with refusal upon refusal.
Yeah?
Only around 2,100 dinosaur bone sets have been discovered worldwide, and out of these, only 15 incomplete Tyrannosaurus rex bone sets have been found. These dinosaur bone sets have never formed a complete skeleton,
Yeah, they
but
have.
from these incomplete bone sets, paleontologists have constructed a hypothesis about the appearance of the whole skeleton, which they have modeled in plastic. If thousands of long necks and large carnivorous reptiles had really roamed the earth, we wouldn't only have found 2,100 dinosaur bone sets, but millions of bones, with ordinary people tripping over them when digging in their vegetable patches.
Okay. I hear this theory going around. Okay. Dude, do you realize, imbecile, ignoramus, australis, or ignoramus americanus? Dude, you do realize that... Just wait a minute. Let's see if I can find it. Where are they? Here we go. Put this one back. Oh, sugar. This one back. This one back. Okay. Let me put this one back. Okay. Dude. Look. When you come find a bone-looking rock like this, it's best to go get it. Oh, I should actually probably do that too at some point. Go get it tested, right? Test it to see, like I said, go test it to see if it actually is a dinosaur bone or something, right? These things can be found anywhere. Go onto beaches, right? You will be able to find them. Yeah, and besides, a lot of these rocks are really deep down in the earth, right? A lot of these, that's how some of these guys reckon the world's millions of years old, because they dig right down. There's probably about, just a rough estimate, maybe 300 meters down below the Earth's surface will you probably find some of these rocks that look like this, right? That's the concept, probably about 300 meters down in the layer. So again, dude, the reason why you won't always find fossils laying out there on the ground or on the top is because they're like that. Or, in the case of what I just also put down here, in the case of the... Where are you? There we go. In the case of a geode, right? Back to my argument about a geode, right? See, a geode looks like this on the outside, right? Be encased with limestone and whatever kind of sandstone, limestone, whatever it's been encased around, right? Around that substance, right? That kind of outer rock, that just looks like a rock, yeah? That just looks like a complete ordinary rock. Now, if we get a chisel or whatever, or in this case, one of the German mineral clubs got a buzzsaw for me, cut it open, and look at that. We've got crystals inside, yeah? But you would not know there's crystals inside it if you're just looking at the thing from the outer side, right? The same thing applies to fossils. You would never know what's inside a rock from the garden, dude, until you actually decide to say, oh, that looks like an interesting rock. Like even here's another one, right? Another one looks exactly like just a normal everyday rock. But look at this. kink, kink, pop. It's a geode, dude. So again, some of your normal around the garden, some of the rocks you find in the garden could potentially be a geode or a fossil, but you have to crack it open. Again, I dare you, dude. Go around for some of the things that you find in rock quarries, or some of the rocks you find in your rock garden. Go crack them open and see what you find inside. You may be very surprised to see what you might find inside some of them. You might even find some fossilized bug or bird. Oh, well, not bird. A fossilized bug or fossilized beetle or fossilized you know, reptile or something like a lizard or something inside there. You might well find a fossil in there, dude. Who knows? Because while there's an outer casing around the rocks, you'll never know what's actually inside that rock, will you, until you cut it open. Like that geode, for an example. You don't know how many actual rocks you could just dig out from your own local garden or dig in your backyard, and some of those may be fossil. But you never know, because to you on the outside just looks like a normal, average, everyday rock until you crack open inside and see for yourself just what the hell is actually inside that thing. Yeah, my point. You'll never know until you crack it open. So that therefore, for you to say, and a lot of the other people to say, well, there's no dinosaur bones in our backyard, so dinosaurs don't exist because we don't. Dinosaurs are supposed to be all over the world and all over the place, and yet we can't dig in our own backyard and find fossils. Well, the reason for that being is, of course, first of all, the location's important. If you might head to Montana or some of Hell Creek or some of those other locations around that area, you're more likely to find a fossil in your backyard, because that's where they mostly found most of the fossils for dinosaurs anyway, up in that location. Or some of the more barren and arid desert locations, you might find stuff as well. Because remember, sandstorms and dust storms bury stuff as well. So you might just well find some more well-preserved fossils in desert locations. Again, dude, to be fair, there is probably a liable capability you might find something. But again, also it does matter on the location. The locations have to be surveyed and checked to make sure that there could be something that deep down. Like even in my backyard, right? There might be, if I dig down really, really deep, I might find like an ammonite or something. Who knows? If I dug down deep enough. You know, it really depends. But again, you have to get a digging license in order to. Then you can't just go dig everywhere, and you know, you got to have a digging. You got to have like an excavation license in order to go dig. Anyway, continue.
David Wasney wrote, "When children go to a dinosaur museum, are the displays they see displays of science or displays of art and science fiction? Are we being deceived and brainwashed at an early age into believing a dinosaur myth? Deep, probing questions need to be asked of the entire dinosaur business."
Okay, well, I still state, again, stop using Jurassic Park as an example, and Jurassic World as an example. My point, dude, is that, again, yes, but the problem is that you're still shooting yourself in the foot. Most of the cases of the things that they cast those bones from, dude, that's the castings is what they make the molds of. Of the castings, they make molds, and from the molds, they make the replica dinosaur bones. But they had to have the original bones first in order to make the casting. It's no different, right? Say, for instance, dude, I made a plastic. I put my arm in a plaster cast, right? My original hand had to come from my original body, right? So me, by putting my hand in the plaster or having my arm put in a plaster cast, then ripping that off, then basically making a rubber or gelatinous arm based on the mold from my original hand. There you go. The fact of the matter is, there had to be an original hand belonging to me that it had to be cast from. My point. The same thing with a dinosaur bone. There had to be an original thing in order for this thing to exist. Like I said, if you believe that these are just a combination of whale bones, giraffe, this thing here, this thing looking like a giraffe, it probably is just a giraffe, you reckon? All right, and with the crocodile tail grafted onto the back of it. All right, then, dude, go find some bone fragments from the museum, from the museum's gift shop. They do sell fragments of dinosaur bones and stuff in the gift shop. Go there, pick out a piece, maybe $100, $200, $300, $400 worth. Yeah, that may be a little bit of a hole in your pocket. But that being said, if you get some of these things, take those fragments, get them cut open from a gem and mineral place, get it DNA, go to a place where you can get those things DNA tested, and then find out whether it really is a giraffe or an elephant or a whale bone. Do some testing before you even make some bullshit claims, dude, because bullshit plus bullshit don't make truth either. Just because you're claiming that these guys are bullshitting and lying about dinosaurs doesn't mean that it doesn't mean you're right either. You got to base your theory on facts. Remember, you said scientific discovery is based on experiments, and then through the experimentation, proving it to be a scientific fact. Hence, reason why of cause and effect. The idea of gravity, with the whole thing of electricity. All this stuff has been proven. Electricity's been proven. Gravity's been proven. With Newton when he had an apple drop on his head from an apple tree. All these theories about gravity and the force of gravity, all these things have been, well, people don't say force now, but the idea of gravity existing has been proven. I dare, sir, you go make some of your own scientific discoveries then. Go find some of these so-called bone fragments that claim to be legit. I mean, maybe not from eBay, but from the actual museum itself, at the gift shop. Go find those fragments, or even a Gem and Mineral Club. Go find those fragments. Go buy them at the Gem and Mineral Clubs or at the museums. Some of those bone fragments or shell fragments or whatever, and get them, break them up and get them DNA tested to prove 100% without a shadow of a doubt that all those things don't come from don't come from any other animal except for the ones you claim they do. Like the eggs only come from an ostrich egg, or only from an emu egg, or whatever. They're not really dinosaur bone. They're not really dinosaur eggs. They come from already known animals. All right, go get it tested. The same thing with the bones. It could be whale bones or elephant bones or giraffe bones. Go get it DNA tested for that shit, dude. Instead of making false claims yourself. You don't know whether they're using modern day animal bones and calling them ancient fossil bones. You don't know that, dude. Get it tested. I double, triple, and quadruple dare you, dude, to go get it tested to prove your findings. Prove your theory. Go do it, dude.
Have been an ongoing effort since the earliest dinosaur discoveries to clones of various animals such as crocodiles, alligators, iguanas, giraffes, elephants, cattle, kangaroos, ostriches, emus, dolphins.
I believe I just said all that. All right then, dude. Again, dude, prove it. Prove it. Go get a casting. Go do that. Why don't you go do that? Get a casting of a known, or even go to the beach. I'm pretty sure you'll even find whale bones on the beach or whatever. Yeah, go pick up one of those bones. Go compare that to one of these sauropod bones at a museum, and then see if they actually line up. Now, if a whale bone does line up with some of this vertebrae on a neck of a of a sauropod, then maybe you might be onto something. But you got to prove it, dude. I double, triple dare you to prove your claims. I dare you. I fucking dare you, Eric. Like I say, I may have to go soon, guys. It sucks. I'm about halfway into this video, but my mum needs to go down the street soon, so we've only got about an hour left into this thing, so I don't know if we can do it, but we'll try.
Whales, rhinoceroses, etc., to construct and create a new man-made concept, prehistoric animal called the dinosaur, where bones from existing animals are not satisfactory for deception purposes. Plaster substitutes may be manufactured and used. Some materials similar or superior.
Again, prove it. Prove some of these. Remember, like you said though, dude, those plaster casts were cast from the original bones. So go get yourself a whale bone. Go get yourself. Go over to Africa. Get yourself a rhinoceros bone or a photo of them, and overlay them or overlap them with computer software to see if they even line up, even with the ones at the back of the museum. See if you can ask them if you can take photos without the flash on of the fossils at the back of the museum on the trays, and then go and compare them with said animals you're claiming these bones to be from. Go do it, dude. Go do it. Just do it. Go do it, dude. And even then, with some of the bone fragments that they're still, some of the fragments they're still selling at the gift shop of the museum or at a gem and mineral club, go get some of those fragments, get them DNA tested to prove your point. I dare you. I super dare you, Eric Dubay. I dare you. Triple, double decker dare you. You person from Christians Against Dinosaurs, dude. I dare you. I bloody well dare you, dude. If you claim that some of these bone fragments are from whales and other species that aren't dinosaurs, then go get a DNA test. Get them tested. Go ahead. Compare the bones to the bones that you claim that they're from. Go get it tested, dude. Prove that's a rhinoceros bone. Prove that's an elephant bone. Prove that is a giraffe bone. I dare you. Prove it.
To plasticine clay or plaster of Paris would be suitable. Molds may also be employed. What would be the motivation for such a deceptive endeavor? Obvious motivations include trying to prove evolution, trying to disprove or cast doubt on the Bible and the existence of a God, and trying to disprove the young Earth theory. The dinosaur concept implies that if God exists, he tinkered with his idea of dinosaurs for a while, then probably discarded or became tired of this creation, and then went on to create man. The presented dinosaur historical timeline suggests an imperfect God who came up with the idea of man as an afterthought, thus demoting the biblical idea that God created man in his
I disagree, though. It doesn't actually prove that, though. You can debate evolutions on that, dude.
own image. Type dinosaur skulls into a search engine.
What? Right. Let's look at this. I think, if I correct me if I'm wrong, this is a Camosaurus. Not Camosaurus. Sorry, rephrasing. Carnosaurus. This is supposed to be Carnosaurus or a it's either a Carnosaurus or a Allosaurus. I think this is supposed to be. But one thing I want you to take note, dude, that you can still use dinosaurs to prove the fact that God exists. Every animal, even look at the dinosaur behind this dude, right? Every dinosaur has a neck bone and a backbone, rib bones, and arm bones and leg bones. All of them still have that. Even a skull. All of them have that, yeah? Which goes back to prove that one God created all species on the planet. Remember, God said in Genesis, let us make man in our own image, right? And if our image is based on what God looks like, then again, all the animals sort of do take on a little bit of a personality of what God looks like in some aspect. Like I said, having a backbone, rib cage, all the stance of what animals are made of, even us humans, are based around a similar format that seems to work. Like I said, having arms, legs, sometimes tails, sometimes no tails, but most cases a backbone, a rib cage, and a skull. Most all animals, most of all the land animals have that capability. Even some of the flying animals all have these kind of things as well. Even some of the marine animals have similar things as well: backbone, neck bone, rib cage. The only few things that don't is the octopus and the jellyfish. But then again, or even some of the bugs. But a lot of their skeleton is on the outside. But again, they're still made of the similar thing. Like even if you take it from a bug, they still have a backside. They have a thorax and a head. All right. They still have arms and legs. Oh, they still have legs. Again, all animals on this planet, even bugs and insects, all have a similar thing: a back end, a middle end, and a head end. Most all species have that. So you can still use dinosaurs and stuff and say, yes, that does prove the theory of one creator, one person creating all. All right, you can still use that. You can still use dinosaurs and other animals to state, oh yeah, it could prove that we're all related from a common ancestor, or it could also prove that one God created all, because everything is so intricate and so well put together, only points to one creator. Even more to the point, all the skeletons of all animals on the planet have a similar structure. You cannot say that evolution would have created a complete thing that would look exactly like the same as another thing. It doesn't make sense, because evolution is from one thing evolving from another. You know, you could have something starting, like I said, an amoeba, or like a cell, and an amoeba from a bacterial cell into an amoeba cell into a fully developed fish, or from a fish into like a walking fish into like a salamander or a frog, right? The concept of that doesn't work because everything seems to be all interconnected through being one actual animal of its own kind. It said we make animal one of every kind. That's another thing from Genesis as well. But anyway, sorry.
And you will find a variety of replicas, tailor-made dinosaurs, and museum-quality skeletons. One of the largest and most renowned suppliers of fake dinosaurs is the Zigong Dino Ocean Art Company in Sichuan, China, which provides natural history museums worldwide with ultra-realistic dinosaur skeletons made from real bones. Chicken, frog, dog, cat, horse, and pig's bones are melted down, mixed with glue, resin, and plaster.
All right. I know eventually I've got to look into that book. And hey, dude, Eric, can you actually do like a reading of this book so at least all of us can understand what you're talking about when it comes to this book? Because not everyone's going to want to go and actually watch this book, right? But again, like I said, man. Yeah, like I said, back to the point. You said they come from China, which again goes to the point, don't trust any fossils from China. But again, other fossils and stuff have been found over in America, dude. So again, you're sort of wrong with that as well. Most of all of dinosaur bones that have been found have been from America or the UK. Nowhere near China when they were first released. If they originally were found in China and actually were found in the locations where some of these fake fossils were, right, that would give you credence, right, to say that, as you can see here, well, this one being made out of a chicken bone or something like that. All right. But again, dude, I triple, double decker dare you, go to the museum shop or go to a gem and mineral club, pick up some of these so-called legit fossils, cut them open, get them DNA tested to prove this point that they're all fake. Go do it. Stop mouthing off. And again, you say, dude, you're saying that that evolutionists and museums and all these guys are promoting propaganda. What do you think you're doing with this here book, dude? You're promoting this dude, Chris McGowan's dogma belief and propaganda that dinosaurs don't exist. You're promoting that propaganda, dude. That's propaganda as well. But again, dude, if you want to do that, please do a reading of that book. Please do a audio novelization of this book. Please do, because as far as I know, I haven't even heard of audio novelization of the book, and I'd love to hear this dude. I'd love to poke holes in this book. Actually, come to think of it, maybe if anyone would like to send me this book, I'd love to have a look at it, because I think it's a whole lot of bullshit. It's like, okay, yeah, in some cases, yeah, that could be a thing, but most cases, the real original fossils weren't made from any other animal other than the ones that were found in the ground. They weren't made from animal bones of around today. They were made from ones that they found in the ground years ago, right? But anyway, let's continue.
Used as base material for recasting as dinosaur bones. They are even given intentional fractures and an antiquated fossilized look
Yeah,
to
but
achieve the right effect. Their website boasts over 62% of our output goes to American and European markets, which means we will understand and are familiar with the intricacies and regulation of exporting to these regions. Since we are a partner of dinosaur museums, all products are made under the guidance of experts of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. We have gained a global sales network reaching the USA, Brazil, France, Poland, Russia, Germany, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Thailand, Indonesia, exhibited in Peru, Argentina, Vancouver, Cincinnati,
rightio.
Chicago, and other places. As Alan Fiducia, University of North Carolina paleontology
But
professor,
again,
wrote,
dude, you're still pointing out they're putting those bones of live animals, like I said, like of birds and stuff, today, grafting them together to make dinosaur bone out of that stuff. But they're basing it on the ones that have been originally found. Again, they're basing their version of dinosaurs based on what discoveries have been previously made. So again, this is the chicken and the egg story. What came first, the chicken or the egg? And I still say the chicken came first. The actual discovery of dinosaur came first before the actual discovery of the egg. Okay, the full blown idea of what a dinosaur could possibly potentially look like. Anyway,
I have heard there is a fake fossil factory in northeast China, in Liaoning province, near the deposits where many of these recent alleged feather
yeah,
dinosaurs were found. Or as David Wozni wrote, the possibility exists that key dinosaur bones on display have been artificially modified through sculpture and carving. Bone sculpture is not an unknown human activity. Many cultures participate in creating man-made objects out of existing bones, totally unrecognizable from the original shape. Is the dinosaur industry a customer of this sort of business? Is it possible that dinosaur skeleton replica are secretly assembled or manufactured in private buildings out of public view, with bones artificially constructed or used from a number of different modern-day
again,
animals?
back to the point. Even if you want to say that these were modern day animals, okay, dude. Again, you're giving me a headache, Eric. You're giving me a headache. Congratulations, you've given me something that I didn't really want, which was a fucking headache. All right, dude. Even if you were to say that some of the bones on display, like you're showing here, that they're all fake, that they're all made up from animals that we already know today, like I said, go to a Gem and Mineral Club, go to a Gem and Mineral show, go find some fossil bits and pieces, go get them tested, then get back to me. All right. If you think all these things are just chicken bones and elephant bones and whale bones all just slapped together in this perfectly neat bow that looks like a dinosaur, okay, douche, go and prove your your thesis. Boy, geez, I can't even speak properly. Your thesis in that theory of yours. Go prove it. Go cut one. Go and get a piece of one of these fossils that they have at a Gem and Mineral Club or a Gem and Mineral show. Go take a bit of that. Go take it to the place. Cut it open. Get someone to dig into it and get a sample of it. Get that sample tested and then get back to me. Right? Go do that. Go do that, Eric. Go get tested and prove your theory to be correct, that all these things are just nothing more than plaster cast fakes, or that all these things are nothing furthermore than man's imagination to try and make out that these things are millions of years old. Go ahead, go do that. But even then, even if the bones didn't come back tested as millions of years old or whatever, even if that is a whole lot of hullabaloo, the fact is, I think you will find, surprisingly, from the real fragments of these animals, that they are indeed what they say they are, right?
Why bother having any authentic original fossils at all if alleged replicas please the public?
Okay.
Another problem
Why build these fakes? Again, the idea is to inspire to inspire the imagination. That's the whole point of showing all these kids and parents and stuff these things. It's to inspire the imagination, to keep the dream alive about some of these things. All right, yeah, okay, you can say maybe that's a bit of bullshit. Okay, fine. But the fact of the matter is that there's not much of an interest in paleontology, right? Not many people care about history at this point. So the idea is to invoke and inspire interest in history, right? That's the reason why a lot of these plaster cast, most of these are plaster cast molds. And even if they're not plaster cast molds, and some of these other fake ones made out of chicken bone, elephant bone, and whatever, then again, any museum who has some of these just elephant bones that have been grafted into a giant sauropod, then I say that museum is fucked. That museum is deadly fucked. If they have fake bones from real existing animals today, I say that this might be a combination of an elephant with a whale. If that was the case, then if they put it on display, knowing full well it's actually an elephant spliced with a whale, then that calls the museum into question, right? Doesn't really any museum who do that without making plaster cast molds of the originals that they have in the vaults, I'll call that into question, sir.
with dinosaurs is their unnatural structural dynamic. Skeletons and reconstructions feature bipedal monsters like the T-Rex with
That's
a
not a
forward-leaning
T-Rex!
torso and head far larger.
That's not a T-Rex, though, douche. That's not. See, you don't even know your dinosaurs. That's supposed to be, from what I'm gathering by the way the arms are shaped, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a Carnosaurus, right? Okay, this Carnosaurus, right? I think it is Carnosaurus. The arms shaped they fold backwards like that. I'm pretty sure that's Carnosaurus. The large head and a small, larger body and a smaller head. I'm pretty sure that is the Carnosaurus, right? Okay, but that's not a Tyrannosaur. That's a Carnosaur. But that's a Carnosaurus, not a Tyrannosaurus. You idiot. At least, if you're going to try and debunk things, at least put up the right fucking fossil, you moron.
Larger and heavier than its counterbalancing tail. Many museum displays cannot even stand up under their own weight. It is highly unlikely that beasts this large and disproportionate could exist at all. The loads acting on their skeletons are so great that calculations indicate the bones of the largest dinosaurs would buckle and crack under their own immense weight.
Yes, yes, yes. I've heard all that bullshit before, dude. The concept of like Godzilla, right? They said when it comes to Godzilla's things, right? They said when it comes to Godzilla, right, that Godzilla could not stand on his own full-blown leg because if he did, his knee bone would buckle and would collapse under his own body weight, yeah? Because when you come to the concept of them being, like, connected to the body, they reckon that basically they're so immense size, their body would collapse under their own body weight. But here's the thing. You forgot one crucial element, idiot. One big thing you forget, Eric, is that the atmospheric conditions, right? The reason why some of the things they see, like Mokele Membe and some of the other so-called living dinosaurs or sauropods are smaller now than what they were back then, was maybe you are correct. The smaller they are now, the smaller ones survived because of the body mass. The larger ones maybe did not survive. Again, you got a basis for your theory there. But again, even with the larger ones, they could have survived in a certain element, right? Say, for instance, right, they did have things in place. Like according to, here's another theory, right? Some people say, right, that a giraffe should not exist. You want to know why giraffes shouldn't exist? Because if they held their heads up too far up, with giraffes, if they held their heads up too far, why don't they pass out from atmosphere up top of their head? They should be falling all over the place and going with their giraffe necks and stuff going all over the place because of the atmosphere, like the not lack of oxygen up. And the higher you go, lack of oxygen as you go higher up. So technically speaking, anything that has higher up, they should have lack of oxygen up that high. So why isn't everything all passing out and falling over themselves, right? The fact is, there is like glands in the neck of a like a special yeah. Let me see. Let me look that up. There's a thing called a synop. I think they said it was. What was it? Yes, a sinoscope. Some with pre-fainting become lightheaded and nauseated. Grey out. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what would happen. But what would stop them from passing out like that? There's a no. That's what I meant. Try to find it. Why don't giraffes faint? Okay, at least a part of the answer to that seems to be that giraffes can buffer sudden changes in their blood pressure. So they have like buffers in their body, which these sudden changes in blood pressure. The with some giraffes whose heads could be raised or lowered with ropes or pulleys, things, has found that blood pools in the big veins in the neck. There's like I said, there's like blood clot type things in their neck that there's veins in the neck when the head is down. So yeah, they've got like special things in their neck and stuff to like glands or something in their neck stop the blood from rushing to their head when they have to go down or up, right? Same thing would have happened with the dinosaurs, right? They'd have special glands or something in along the neck to stop them from going and going and passing out. That's the whole point, right? From your example, dude, giraffes should not exist because they would just pass out as soon as they stuck their head upright. But they don't, do they? My point. Now, back to the thing I said we talked about, like with Godzilla, the poor sauropod looking thing like Godzilla. Because he's so tall, he'll just collapse on his own body weight, right? But again, you've got to understand that the pressure of Earth has changed drastically since back in the past, right? Back in the past, we had a lot more CO2 in the atmosphere. We had a lot more oxygen in the atmosphere than what we do now. It was very much plentiful with a lot of CO2 oxygen back in the time of the dinosaurs. There was a lot more oxygen. There was a lot more nitrogen. There was a lot more atmospheric conditions that allowed animals to grow to a giant size. I believe even today we still have things that still happen today called gigantism. It still happens even today, dude. We do have things now. Of course, today with gigantism, even myself, dude, I'm about 6'4". Dude, technically, I should not exist because of the size and the body weight that I am, right? I should not exist. My knees should crumble under my own body weight, right? But they somewhat do, but they somewhat don't. But the concept is like I shouldn't be able to walk anywhere, right? I mean, it may take me a while to walk anywhere at certain times, and maybe I get tired out. But the fact of the matter is, I can still walk. Yeah. Same thing with dinosaurs. There was even a hypothesis back in the day. Some of the dinosaurs, like some of these sauropod dudes, would go into the water for a while. Go into the lakes, rivers, and streams. And that's even when you have Mokele Mimbi doing the same thing. The guy would stop the flow of rivers, right? The concept of some of these guys would indeed sit down in a swamp, lake, or river just to cool off a bit before they kept on walking around and stuff. So, again, with some of that hypothesis is that, yes, they could, in fact, exist. Like I said, the atmospheric pressures were different back then. The atmospheric pressure was different back then. The gravity was different back then. I believe if you do a test on about gravity, gravity was also a little bit lighter back then as well. Lighter gravity, lighter atmosphere. Everything back in the past was a little bit more different than what it is today. Gravity is heavier now. We have heavier gravity now. We have really bad atmospheric changes. We have global warming. We have a lot more stuff going on now than what we did back then. My point, dude. So that's the reason why dinosaurs, even that's the reason why things, as much as my favourite movie is Jurassic Park, yes, one of my favourite games and one of my favourite franchises of ever, Jurassic Park. Da, 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 da. The reason why this thing couldn't actually really exist is because there are certain species of dinosaur that would not be able to live to today because of the atmospheric pressures and gravity, like you were saying. There may be a concept where the dinosaurs would not be able to support their own body weight in today's gravity and today's atmospheric pressures. That would cause them to not be as good as what they were back then, dude. Just saying. Continue.
Experts have also pointed out that dinosaurs would have to have moved much slower than portrayed in movies to prevent sudden shocks to their skeletons.
Yeah, especially
David Wozni wrote, "This idea of slow-moving animals does not agree with the biomechanical analysis of dinosaurs, which indicate that the dinosaurs were agile, active creatures."
Again, only certain species do. This is where you're getting fucked up here, dude. You're saying one species of dinosaur says that they had to be slow moving in order to get from one place to another. They had to be slow moving dinosaurs. And then you have ones like the raptors, as you're showing here from Jurassic Park, Lost World, Jurassic Park here, where they're going and pouncing on people like tigers and lions, and were far more graceful and doing stuff like that on and things. Jumping around on those sound, going around and killing people. This whole thing.
This is the paradox.
This sort of thing, right? But here's the thing, dude. The point being is, with these dinosaurs, the raptors, again, they'd be like being attacked by an emu to today. The concept of is that whilst being a large animal, they could still do some damage. And again, these ones are fast and agile, right? They're the right size. Again, you were saying before, with some of the larger ones, they could not support their own body weight and they probably couldn't move as fast. That is true. However, then you're saying, hang on, with some other dinosaurs, they can move fast. So which is it? Are they all slow moving or are they all fast? Neither. There's a middle ground. Some dinosaurs can move faster than others because of their body weight, their size, and body mass. Like you just stated. Fool! Ay, ay, ay.
Paradox between the dinosaur's size and lifestyle. Many displays and drawings of dinosaurs appear to be an absurdity, showing a two-legged animal that would be totally off balance, with the weight of head and abdomen much greater than weight of tail, which is supposed to act as a counterbalance. Is the dinosaur industry a case of science trying to meet public desires or expectations? The movie Jurassic Park is an example of showing dinosaurs much larger than any current displays in museums. After the movie came out, it is interesting to note that many articles were written asking, "Is this possible?" I can recall a report of dinosaur DNA being discovered preserved in amber, which later turned out to be false. Robin Kofod wrote, "Overall, several millions of dollars..."
It wasn't, again, first of all, no. Dude, the one with the amber, with the fossil stuff in amber, dude, that originally came from Jurassic Park, first, starters. Second of all, there was a guy who cut open a block of amber with a bug inside it and got DNA from an insect that was in amber, okay? That was real. And because of that study, right, because of what he did with that bug, right, that inspired Michael Crichton to say, well, maybe we can get blood from biting insects. In the novel, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, some Jurassic Park people, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the novelization, they used ticks, fleas, and mosquitoes to get DNA from the dinosaur things, as well as also the bones. And again, as well, we do know there is DNA in dinosaur bones. So yes, you can extract some form of DNA of dinosaurs, but because most of the cases it's all fragmented, that's where things get a little bit difficult.
Have been spent promoting the existence of dinosaurs through movies, TV,
Right.
magazines, and comics. The world of movies and paleontology are like Siamese twins. People's view on the existence of dinosaurs is based not on firm evidence, but on Hollywood-fixated artistic impressions. Documentaries colorfully illustrate each dinosaur's characteristics, like colors, weight, and muscle mass. But Don Lessam, advisor for Jurassic Park, admits that this is pure guesswork. Consider, for instance, the question of how much. Don Lessam says, "Scientists don't know how much dinosaurs weighed." Dinosaurs are presented to the public with colorful artistic reconstructions, drawings, models, mannequins.
And again, I disagree with that too. And then, haha, here we go. There's one. There's one. I don't know whether this is. I think it's supposed to be the Ortheoraptor, the egg raptor, because yeah, Ortheoraptor or something like that. Sitting on her nest of eggs. But again, but for far as scientists not knowing how much dinosaurs weigh, yes, they can by the weight of sometimes with the weight of the bones. If they weigh up all the bones, then that'll give a sizable estimate. Even these recreations back here that you were showing before, some of those recreations, they some of those recreations right there, they do a weigh in of when they put them on the scales up on the thing. Now you said before, dude, about reason why some of these things when they put them on display they can't support their own weight. They have stands and things to hold them up. Dude, I've got a model of a Tyrannosaur that is a model, yes. It's a plaster cast reconstruction of a male T-Rex scaled down. I think it's about maybe 135, 134 scale, I think it is. But again, it can stand up on its own in the mold, right? But even then, the reason why they have metal supports running through some of these some of these ones, right? The reason why they've got metal supports, and even right this one here, it's got like metal supports or something, sort of things holding this, what was it, Gallimimus up, right? On display on this bottom corner. Again, dude, the reason for that is so that they can actually hold the skeleton up. Now, again, dude, the reason why that is, and you're saying, oh, they wouldn't be able to support their own weight without those supports there. Yeah, because there's no muscle mass or anything else supporting those bones into place. Hell, dude, if we ripped out your skeleton and could we try and make it stand up? No, it would fall to the ground. I dare you, dude, to go find one of those models of a human skeleton and try and put it up and make it try and stand on its own without any supports in it to support holding it up. I dare you. You can't. You need supports without muscle tissue or skin, without muscle or skin tissue. Of course, things are going to fall apart and not stand up on its own. My point.
Gigantic skeletons in museums, cartoons and movies showing these beasts in explicit detail, but the fact is, from the assigning and arrangement of bones in each species, to the impossible to discern soft tissue, skin, eyes, noses, color, hairiness, texture, etc., just like the many supposed ape-man species, all dinosaur reconstructions are 100% fictional fabrications created by invested and inventive evolutionists. They purposely present dinosaurs to children in the media
that does
to spark and bias their young imaginations toward their machinations. Cartoons.
Yeah, that sounds all good, well and good, dude. But the fact is, you still haven't really said much about the fact that there is real bones, right? There is real fossils. Yes, there is real fossils. Okay, my argument and my debate with you, Eric, of Christians Against Dinosaurs, my debate against you, mob, and your religious rhetoric and ideology is the fact is there are fossils that do in fact exist. They make castings of those molds to put them together, right? And only in some rare cases where some people are some stupid ass idiots, museum peoples, probably in poor nations like China or or India or Africa, would they accept chicken bone or other known animals spliced together to make dinosaur bones because they're in a poor country? They can't afford to actually buy the real full ones, so they get fake ones, right? So yeah, all right, fair enough. But the fact is, not all dinosaurs are fake, my dude. Your hypothesis and theory that all dinosaurs are fake has got loopholes. The fact of the matter is, there is real fossils. Not all fossils are replicas or fakes. There are real fossils, dude. If they're, like I said, if you got, go look up ammonites, go look up trilobites, go look up some of the marine reptiles like plesiosaur and stuff like that. They have pretty well complete skeletons of these damn things, right? Not everything that's a fossil is fake. Ah, God, you're an idiot. Not everything is a fake. That'd be like saying to me, dude, how do we know God exists because we can't see him? Does that mean God's fake? No, it doesn't. Just because, okay, like, all right then. All right. That would be also another thought too, dude, while we're on the subject. Like, I've got a fan right there, right? See that fan right there? I can feel the air coming from that. I can't see the air, but I can feel the effect of it. The same thing with God, right? You can feel God's presence around you. You may not be able to see him, but you can feel his presence. The same thing with also when it comes to dinosaurs here, dude. There are bones. You can see there is bones. You can see the effects and things of the plastic cast molds of said dinosaur bones. They do exist, dude. I mean, are you going to come around and say, dude, because I have this here. Where is it? Just because I have a bone that looks like a bone. Well, I said we don't even know if this could be a fossil. I don't even know. It could just be a rock or it could be bone. I don't really know. But the concept is, dude, whether this thing is really a bone or not, I don't know. Yeah, it has. It's even started changing color now. Huh. Yeah, it was all like that. Now it's starting to change color. Huh. That must be oil. Again, this is probably another reason why you don't touch fossils, because like the oil from the skin changes the thing as well. So, yeah. But anyway, the point of, dude, is the concept is that they do have a rock or have a bone that looks like rock that they've got. It's not, they're not going around deliberately shoving real life animals and making things out of them. No. Because that whole thing, when was that book written, dude? But again, I'd love to get my hand on that book about the idea of the Chinese dudes making fake dinosaur bones. I'd love to get that book. That would be interesting. Or go to that website that he was talking about earlier. Like I said, I've got a copy of this video of his now, and I'll go back and have a look for it. But, dude, again, with even the Chinese dudes making fake dinosaurs, right? The point being is, where I'm coming at to is with this, again, not all dinosaurs are fake. There are some real ones out there, and there's some fake ones. Again, distinguishing what is real, like the other one I showed you there, that rock, compared to something like this, which is a plastic representation, knowing what is fake to what is real, that's up for debate. But again, dude, you can buy fragments of dinosaur bones and stuff in the museum's gift shop, right? So I dare you to go do that. Or if they don't, go to a gem and mineral show or club, right? Go to a gem and mineral club or gem and mineral club and say, hey, can't buy a fossil. Then they'll put you into a place where you can actually buy a genuine fossil. Go take it to the gem and mineral club, get it cut open, take that sample, a bit of that bone or fragment or whatever that is, go get that DNA tested to see whether or not you are correct, that all this stuff is just fake. Please do. I'd love to see you go and do that. Prove your theory, sir.
like Ice Age and The Land Before Time, movies like Jurassic Park and Dinosaur Island, coloring books, dolls, plastic toys, elementary school textbooks, and huge displays in children's museums certainly have an effect on budding young minds. National Geographic and the Ice Age movies were produced by Mason Rupert Murdoch's News Corp and 20th Century Fox. The Masonic production company Universal Studios created Jurassic Park and The Land Before Time. They are owned by Comcast, whose main
I don't know if Universal Studios has ties to the Freemasonry. I don't think so. I might need to look into that, but as far as I know, sir, no, I don't think so.
shareholders are Masons, J.P. Morgan, and the Rothschilds. Discovery Channel, which features many dinosaur documentaries, is also financially advised by N.M. Rothschilds and Son Limited. Former paleontology student Michael Forsell claimed on a radio interview with leading paleontologist Jack Horner that he was a total fraud, fabricating evidence and perpetuating the myth of dinosaurs. He continued on saying, "I started my career in the field of paleontology only to leave my studies once I realized the whole thing was a sham. It's nonsense. Most of the so-called skeletons in museums are actually plaster casts. They even do it openly on documentaries now, preserving the bones my ass. I struggled as a student mainly because I could not tell the difference between a fossil..."
Dude, the fact of the matter is that, again, the plaster cast mold had to come from the original. My point. Again, that other idiot who decided to give up his paleontology study gave up his paleontology study on a whim based on stupid ideology like yours, saying that all dinosaurs must be fake because most of all the things have been plaster cast molds, and like I said, even like these animatronic dinosaurs seen in museums, most of all of them are just a facsimile of what the real thing looks like behind in the vault. My point, dude, is that a lot of the real dinosaurs we don't really know. To be honest, these are probably only a facsimile or a representation or a replica of what a dinosaur really looks like. We don't know for certainty what a real one looks like. But even if we did do, right, it's because they took scans, photos, impressions, made molds from the original bones that were discovered and put them all together to make the thing. That's the way they originally did it, yeah? Before the idea of plastering them with chicken bones and shit, you idiot. My point.
Fossilized egg and an ordinary rock, and of course, there is no difference. I was treated like a leper when I refused to buy into their propaganda and promptly left the course. Dinosaurs never existed.
You're talking about spreading propaganda stuff. What do you think you're doing, you fucking moron? You're spreading propaganda and stuff about the stuff that you're talking about, your religious rhetoric and your own religious beliefs and ideals. Now, people for years have even stated that Christian colleges and Christian universities only indoctrinating people. Not much different from what you're saying, that these guys are indoctrinating from the stuff that they're teaching, right? So either way, no one's winning it. This is the problem between atheists and Christians. No one is winning their point of view in this whole debate, whether dinosaurs are real or not. Dinosaurs are just slapped in the middle of all this shit, and nobody can come with a definitive answer on either side. Because you can debate God exists and say God doesn't exist, and then you coming along saying, well, okay, God exists, but dinosaurs don't. God made all the animals in day 4 or 6. You know, he did make all land animals, right? If God made all the animals, he made dinosaurs as well, right? The fact of the matter is there are bones in the museum that are dinosaur bones that were from years before even these whole idea of these fake ones, even before this animatronic T-Rex was even created. Was this animated T-Rex created in 1849? No, the fuck it wasn't. It was created in probably maybe 2005 or 2006. My bloody point. Oh, my fucking ass. Dude.
Existed. The whole shebang is a freak show. They just grab a couple of old bones and form them into their latest Frankenstein's monster-like exhibit. We are all being fooled, and it's wrong, but together we can stop it. Many claim that since dinosaur fossils have been radiometrically dated to be tens of millions of years old, that their authenticity is thus proven. The fact is, however, that the methods used to date dinosaur fossils involve not measuring the actual fossils, but the rocks near where they are found. Most fossils are found near the
I
surface
believe what you're talking about is radiometric dating.
of the Earth.
Again, that radiometric dating isn't actually fallible. It's unreliable. Okay, but there are other ways to distinguish fossils' validity and how old they are, according to the paleontologists and according to scientists in that study of field. But anyway,
And if a modern-day animal were to die in the area, paleontologists would be likely to date them the same age.
no,
Dr. Margaret Helder, in her book Completing the Picture, a handbook on museums and interpretive centers dealing with fossils, she writes, "Scientists used to be very impressed with the potential of radiometric for coming up with absolutely reliable ages of some kinds of rocks. They do not feel that way anymore. Having had to deal with numerous calculated dates which are too young or too old compared with what they expected, scientists now admit that the process has many more uncertainties than they ever would have supposed in the early years.
indeed.
The public knows almost nothing about uncertainties in the dating of rocks. The impression that most people have received is that many rocks on Earth are extremely old and that the technology exists to make accurate measurements of the ages. Scientists have become more and more aware, however, that the measurements which the machines make may tell us nothing about the actual age of the rock."
All right. Again, okay. So your debate, dude, is that these dinosaurs may not be millions of years old. Okay, granted. But then again, dude, you still haven't proven that these things aren't real. You still haven't proven that dinosaurs are not real. You still have not proven that, dude. All that you may have proven is carbon dating, and the age of the Earth may not be as old as what they claim. That's all you've got so far, right? You've got that, and you've got that some fossils were faked, especially ones from China. We already know that a lot of stuff comes from China is fake, right? We already know that a lot of things from China is bootlegged and faked, right? We already know that. China is well known good for that. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, it was also the Chinese who created the coronavirus. So either way you want to go about it, China is not exactly good. I'm just putting it out there. China is not really that good, okay? Just putting it out there.
One of the main reasons that evolutionists needed the existence of dinosaurs was to answer the complicated problems present in the theory of evolution, including sea-dwelling animals evolving into land dwellers, reptiles evolving wings, feathers, flying and becoming birds, as well as other reptiles evolving warm blood.
But no. Dude, the existence of dinosaurs does not clear up evolution. That's a fallacy. That's a lie. Dinosaurs existing does not debunk or disprove evolution. It doesn't. It doesn't debunk it. It doesn't disprove it. It doesn't prove it or disprove it. The existence of dinosaurs does not prove or disprove evolution. It doesn't. Evolution in scientific terms is a random system of processes, right? It goes through a random system of processes that go back from a common ancestor, a common lineage, right? That's how evolution works. It comes from a state of one lineage. Through one lineage, everything passes down through one lineage. From one amoeba right down to the one fish, right down to the one salamander or walking fish or whatever, and then extends down through that into the common animals we know of today. That's how evolution works, right? It's a systematic system, right? It doesn't, but again, dinosaurs do not prove evolution. Again, they're still saying the birds prove evolution. Back in the day, dude, I don't know if I showed it or not, or if we already covered that, or maybe we'll cover another thing. People say that, that the caterpillar, right? The caterpillar that turns into a chrysalis, then turns into a moth. That's a sign of that's like an evolutionary line. You even see that in Pokemon, yeah, with Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree. You get that whole concept that they're trying to say that basically evolution is no more different from a metamorphosis, like a butterfly from a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. That's the simplistic nature of what people theorize that evolution technically is, but it's not. what I'm trying to say is, dude, is that whether dinosaurs did or did not exist does not debunk evolution. They can come back and say, oh yeah, well we believe birds evolved, we believe crocodiles evolved. They'll just keep on making excuses to prove that some sort of animal species evolved into another. It doesn't matter. The proof of dinosaurs existing does not prove evolution. That's another fallacy and a lie, dude.
Live births, breasts, and becoming mammals, through their imaginary multi-million-year timeline and a variety of supposed transitional dinosaur forms, the paleontological establishment has been promoting various sea dinosaur, reptile/birds, and reptile/mammals to bridge these gaps. Many professionals and experts in the field have disputed such findings as often as they have been presented, however. Dr. Storrs Olson, a Smithsonian Institute scientist, wrote, "The idea of feathered dinosaurs and the theropod origin of birds is being actively promulgated by a cadre of zealous scientists acting in concert with certain editors at Nature and National Geographic, who themselves have become outspoken and highly biased proselytizers of the faith. Truth and careful scientific weighing of evidence have been among the first casualties in their program, which is now fast becoming one of the grander scientific hoaxes of our age. No authentic feathers have ever been found with dinosaur fossils, though a few exposed hoaxes certainly..."
Well, yes and no. There has been some, and again, that's debatable whether it actually came from there is a debate, though, dude, whether these things did actually come from China or not, or whether or not these things are uh, dubious or not. Wait a minute. We have, yeah, excuse me. Yeah. There we go. Well, get out of here. We have this thing here, like this fossil here. If I got it pulled up, here we go. There we go. Like this fossil feather here. Now, is that fossil feather really of a dinosaur, or is that actually of a bird? We still don't know because the rest of the feather isn't really intact. The fact is, yes, there is fossil feathers. There are fossil feathers out there, dude. Now, the question comes to mind is, did they actually belong to a dinosaur? That's what's called into question. Did that belong to an ancient bird, or did it actually belong to a dinosaur? That's the $1,000,000 question that people still don't know to this day when it comes to feathered dinosaurs. They don't know. Especially when most of the feathered dinosaurs come from China, which everyone knows that a lot of stuff coming from China is fake or questionable at most. Anyway.
Attempted to fake it. Dr. Olson called the adding of feathers to their findings hype, wishful thinking, propaganda, nonsense fantasia, and a hoax. In the 1990s, many fossils with feathers were supposedly discovered in China, suspiciously close to the Zhejiang Dino Ocean Art Company, but when examined, Dr. Timothy Rowe found the so-called Confuciusaurus was an elaborate hoax. He also found the Archaeoraptor, supposedly discovered in the 90s, was composed of bones from 5 different animals. When Dr. Rowe presented his findings to National Geographic, the head scientist reportedly remarked, "Well, all of these have been fiddled with." National Geographic then proceeded with their news conferences and media stories about the Archaeoraptor fossils being genuine and having found the missing link in evolution. Robin Kofod wrote, in 1990...
Yes, but as, dare I say, bring up that douchebag Aaron Ra, he stated, though, as well, yeah, but here's the thing. When the scientists tested it and found out, some of the paleontologists and stuff tested out and found out they were fake, they themselves, the museum people and the paleontologist communities, when they found out some of those dinosaurs were fake, they came out and said they were fake. It was remember, National Geographic, dude, as you were saying, they're the ones that still push the story that the Archaeoraptor was real, okay? They're the ones that were still pushing that story, not the paleontologists, not the museums. but the actual media was still pushing it. And then when they turned back, they're like, "Oh fuck, we fucked up here," and then they had to go rewrite the article and say that it was actually fake. That all happened as well, dude. Next.
9, National Geographic magazine was busted when they presented in a colorful and fancily presented article The Missing Link, an Archaeoraptor dinosaur, which was supposed to support the basic tenet of evolutionary theory that dinosaurs had slowly developed over millions of years. Their proof consisted of a fossil where carefully arranged bone imprints gave the impression of a creature half dinosaur and half bird. The scan
Yes, but the thing is though, dude, the two halves of the fossil that were found came from two real fossils. One came from the Archaeopteryx, and the other one came from a Velociraptor or a raptor. Right? They spliced that organization you said may have done it. Those fake fossil dudes may have done it, or someone may have done it. Spliced the two fossil pieces together to create a brand new dinosaur. Hence, the Archaeoraptor was born out of a Velociraptor and an Archaeopteryx.
was discovered during a CT scan which uncovered unnatural bone links. National Geographic magazine was later forced to admit, when pressured, that the fossil was man-made. Paleontologists claim that Archaeopteryx is another transitional form of bird evolved from dinosaurs, but this theory falls on its face against overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Oh, yeah?
Other
Like
species like Confuciusornis, Launingornis, and Eolalavis have all been found.
Like what, dude? You still haven't said like what? You still haven't found with the as far as the Archaeopteryx. You have not stated whether that was like a chicken that was slapped between two pieces of plaster. You still haven't stated where the Archaeopteryx came from. You said there's evidence to debunk the Archaeopteryx was a fake as well. Well, prove it. Where's the evidence? Show it, dude. Show us. What the fuck you talking about?
To be contemporary with the Archaeopteryx and are indistinguishable from present-day birds. Alan Fiducia from University of North Carolina, one of the most famous ornithologists in the world, stated, "I've studied bird skulls for 25 years, and I don't see any similarities whatsoever. I just don't see it. Theropod origin of birds, in my opinion, will be the greatest embarrassment of paleontology of the 20th century." Larry Martin from the University of Kansas, a paleoornithologist, said,
Okay. Look, dude, reason why these what they call avian dinosaurs, look, okay, they originally were designed standing upright. Okay, that was one of their mistakes. So they eventually twisted it, and so they stand like that now. But the fact is, the way that their back is curved like this looks very much like a bird, the way a bird would stand. Yeah, that's the concept. The structure and the way the things are is the way it is. The way it's done. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Ray. Yeah.
To tell you the truth, if I had to support the dinosaur origin of birds with those characters, I'd be embarrassed every time I had to get up and talk about it. Even if dinosaurs did evolve into birds to fill their evolution gap, it does not explain how something like the common housefly could have evolved. Flies flap their wings simultaneously 500 times per second. Even the slightest dissonance in vibration would cause them to lose balance and fall. But this never happens. How could they evolve such an amazing and specialized ability? Why were dinosaurs never discovered before the evolution?
Okay. Right, first thing, I said we made this ginormous jump. But then again, back to that point. We made that point. The fact is, all animals were made equal. Like I said, dude, go back, check the Bible. Since you're going to bring up God and bring up the religious stuff about the Bible, all right, let's talk about one thing. But basically, Behemoth, that is a sauropod. It has a tail like a cedar tree. Does an elephant have a tail like a cedar tree? No, it don't. What else could it be? Oh, a giant crocodile. Yeah, but it says that its legs were like thick and as large. The legs and its loins were thick as you know. Oh, what do you call them? Pillars, right? those things were solid things, almost like those. They were thick. They were massive, dude. I don't remember a crocodile having pillar-like legs, right? Or a tail shape. I mean, I suppose it does look a bit like a cedar tree with a crocodile. But that was beside the point. The point being is that it's not as large as a cedar tree. That's the point. We're getting close to the end of this stream, ladies and gentlemen, and then I've got to go because I've got to go help Mum out for a bit. And then next time I'll come back and do some more on this dude and debate this. But at least I'm doing pretty well so far.
Evolutionist renaissance in the mid-19th century.
But there was...
Why do paleontologists think they can reconstruct
what? Dude, evolution didn't come about until after the fossils were found. Evolution was trying to prove where the fossils came from. No one knew where the original fossils came from. They had no fucking clue, right? So to get back on that track, evolution was a theory designed in the hypothesis of where the origin of all the animals came from. Even fucking Charles Darwin's book was called Origin of the Species. You fuckwit. The concept was when dinosaur bones were discovered and all origins of humanity, we had the original Bible which said that God created everything, right? Yeah, that's true. Or if you had the Quran or had any other thing, they said a God created the earth and created all life on it. But then people wanted to come up with another alternate theory of how life could possibly exist without a godlike presence. Hence, evolution was to fill that void and fill that gap of what would happen if everything just worked on its own accord without a god present. But the problem is, as you said, with the fly example, there's no way on Earth that things could have just transformed into that thing. Like I said, if it took years for caterpillars and things to evolve, to figure out how to evolve from a caterpillar into a chrysalis into a butterfly, almost all the species of butterflies would be extinct by now. Almost, at least, about 95% or 96% of all butterflies would be extinct by now. But on that basis, all of them would almost be extinct by now because of them trying to teach themselves how to form a chrysalis and form into a butterfly. But anyway.
An entire species of ancient animal from a few teeth.
Yeah.
Why have so many dinosaur discoveries turned out to be hoaxes? Why are all authentic dinosaurs?
Only a few have been discovered as fakes, not every single one.
Or fossils kept under tight lock and key away from any independent analysis? Why has erosion and weathering not destroyed all these supposed prints and fossils that are allegedly millions of years old?
Because under certain conditions, they were preserved. And again, you can tie this right back to the flood of Noah's Ark, right? Most of all the things were died and covered up in a rapid burial process. All the processes of a fossil was through rapid burial. When you have things where they said, it took a long time for even all the stuff to break down and all the stuff, that doesn't work either. It was a rapid burial process.
If dinosaurs were supposedly wiped out by a meteor impact or other such catastrophe, why is it that all the other various animal species that exist today were not similarly wiped out?
Again, because they were on the ark when the flood happened. That's why.
There are many more questions which need to be answered before anyone in their right mind
should consider. And again, an answer also, why isn't there any dinosaurs around today or these kind of dinosaurs around today? Another reasoning for that is because most of them also got hunted into extinction from being on the ark. Another point made. Also, a theory supported by Ken Ham, who is a devout creationist. But anyway, my point stands.
The existence of dinosaurs anything but a convenient evolutionist myth.
Bullshit.
Robin Kofod wrote, "The paleontological establishment can control which hypotheses will be constructed through textbooks and the curriculum. In this way, students are brainwashed into a pseudo-reality controlled by text material and the teacher's authority. A short practical example. A random dental bone is found at an excavation site, and from this dental bone, the rest of the skeleton is guessed at. We are not kidding about this."
Yeah, in some cases, but not all cases. I said, about some of these things, like the Triceratops, probably only about 95% of that, but the percent of that bone was discovered. That skeleton was discovered, but whatever.
The entire dinosaurian field of the paleontological program is a sham.
Bullshit. And please, by all means, do not like and subscribe to his channel. Anyway, I'm giving you a downvote. But so that ends his first video. Fuck me, that took too long. Anyway, yes, back to a quick hello. Thank you, Ree, for showing up, and hopefully sometime, dude, I'll do another live stream that will be free, so a lot of people can come in and just have a chat or come up on panel later. But this is just a cover against Christians Against Dinosaurs, again with this guy called Eric. Eric, again, if Eric is watching this, dude, okay, if you think all dinosaurs are fake, please, by all means, grab one of them fossils, rocks, right? Go grab one of those things, right, dude? No, it's not that one, not that one. Grab one of those rocks. No, it's not in there either. Go get one of those ones. Go get it tested. Go get it tested for the DNA stuff. Find out what bone that really come from. Then get back to me and say that was fake. Go do that, dude. Please, by all means, go do that. Then get back to me, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This has been 3 hours now, and I've got to go. I need to get going. So I'll catch you all later. I'll end up on a song, and then we'll head off. But again, dude, you screwed up because there was an original mold. There was original bones found in the ground that these guys. It wasn't like they just crafted these bones out of nothing. They found bone fragments and then crafted the bone fragments out of mold castings to make the molds on display, right? It's not as simple as what you think it is, dude. The processes of getting even this model, right? This model come in fragments, and I had to build this 3D puzzle T-Rex to put it together. There's a lot more that goes into paleontology there's a lot more that goes into paleontology and fossils and stuff like that. There's a lot more that goes into it than even you know about, sir. But again, I'll be covering, because he did another 2 videos on this, and I'll be covering them as well. But again, later, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a little bit of fun. So I'll wrap this up with a bit of a music, and then we'll go on to from there. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, talk to you later, Gray. Catch you later.
Until one day, we met some new friends from out of town. They were called Dinosaurs.
Later.